Marvel, reincarnated as Killian. I am the master of technology. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: Systems and Choices. Handsome men and beautiful women sign in here. Bern, Switzerland. Christmas. In this season of bitterly cold winds, everything hibernates, and pedestrians have to wear thick cotton padded jackets even when going out. On the roof of a luxury hotel, a man dressed in punk style, with a rugged and slightly hunched back, is already shaky under the cold wind. If you get closer, you can see that the other person's face, which looks thin at first glance, has already been frozen to the point of being covered with frost. If it weren't for the clenching teeth that kept creaking due to the extreme cold, I'm afraid no one would suspect that this person has been frozen to death. Traveled through time. After a while, as the man opened his eyes again, he saw a sharp look in his eyes, and then he looked at his body as if he couldn't believe it and said. The next second, countless memories flooded into the man's mind. And because of the integration of a large number of memories, the man at this moment couldn't help but squat down with his head in his arms because of a headache in his brain. I don't know how much time has passed. The man regained his composure once again and slowly stood up. Killian. The owner of the Extremis virus. I never thought that one day, I would become one of the travelers, and even a big villain in the journey. Thinking of this, the man couldn't help but think in his heart. Ding, the host is detected to be online, and now it starts to bind to the all-underworld Black Technology System. Binding, 1%, 25%, 50%, 100%. Ding, binding is complete. Respected host, the all-underworld Black Technology System is dedicated to serving you. At this moment, a mechanical voice suddenly sounded in Killian's mind, and before he even reacted, it started to bind on its own. Until the system showed that the binding was successful, the whole process was only a blink of an eye, so short that Killian didn't even react. System. Killian couldn't help but mutter after hearing the words in his mind. He thought he had got the template of a villain in the journey flow, but now he has become a villain in the journey flow system flow. And it's a technology-based system. Host, just immerse your consciousness in your mind. The system reminded him. After hearing the system's words, Killian closed his eyes and began to empty his mind. Then he appeared in a closed empty room similar to the main engine room, but the difference was that in addition to Killian's own figure, there was a light curtain that appeared out of thin air in the air. The dark technology system of the universe. Host, Aldrezi Killian. Reputation. 1000. Technology Mall. Level 1. Unlockable. 1000. 1000. Technology to be unlocked. None. Technology unlocked. None. Above it was a clear display of Killian's current authority information. What's the matter with this system reputation? Killian couldn't help but ask after seeing that he had a reputation value of 1000 points just after obtaining the system. Reputation is the actual influence value that the host spreads among intelligent life forms through its own influence. The acquisition of reputation value includes but is not limited to the spread of the host's own influence, the use and influence of items made by intelligent life forms through system technology, etc. The system responded to Killian's question in a timely manner. It means that as long as I can show off like those capitalists, and then promote the company's products and let people use them, I can gain reputation value. Killian said immediately after hearing the system's words. Yes. After getting the affirmative answer from the system, Killian immediately understood. Then, looking at the display above, Killian directly clicked the unlock button behind the technology mall. Immediately after the technology mall was unlocked, Killian saw that the originally gray mall suddenly had a variety of dazzling technologies emerging. From small portable lithium batteries and diving oxygen masks to large terminators, exoskeleton armor, T-viruses, etc. There are even things like genetic maps, but what Killian can see at present are only some simple creatures, such as anacondas and gorillas. But for some reason, everything in the genetic map is very expensive. At the same price, he estimated that he could unlock cutting-edge technology. However, Killian has no need for these things at the moment, so he just glanced at them and skipped them. He knew that if he followed the system's reputation regulations and his current situation, what he needed now was a simple and high-tech artifact that met the needs of the public. Although his private investment company had money, it could not afford too much consumption. Then Killian chose the four most suitable ones from a pile of technological products. 1. Resident Evil T-Virus, Serum Version. It has the characteristics of strengthening and recombining biological genetic factors. It is a demonic product born for the purpose of developing biological weapons. But most organisms will suffer strong side effects. Under the direct action of the virus, part of the cerebral cortex will be necrotic and intelligence will be seriously reduced. 2. Brain-controlled biochip. It can monitor the discharge activities of various sensory nerve bundles of the carrier, and remotely interfere with various types of nerve cells to obtain sensory information from the human brain and control human behavior. 3. Metal Gear, high-frequency vibration blade, a sword strengthened by powerful alternating current and resonating at an extremely high vibration frequency. This oscillation weakens the molecular bonds of anything it cuts, thereby improving its cutting ability and can easily tear apart high-strength alloys. 4. Big Hero 6 Baymax, primary version, a nanny-type intelligent medical inflatable robot with a built-in scanning life index, up to 10,000 medical knowledge reserves, partial medical assistance, and a 4-core chip slot. Chips with different needs can be customized as needed. Ps. Some of the things in the system cannot be created in reality due to their particularity. In addition to the design drawings, the required raw materials or finished products will be provided. Chapter 2 Maya Hansen. All this only requires paying some extra reputation points. The first one is the well-known T-virus. Let alone the fact that biological weapons have not yet been developed, just the terrifying transmission power of the T-virus. He believes that even if it is a sky-high price, the US government can take over it all. After all, no country is more enthusiastic about biological weapons experiments than the United States. Because in the final analysis, their population is sparse, so this also leads to a special shortage of human resources. There is a rule on the battlefield that American soldiers can surrender unconditionally as long as they have a 50% death rate, and they have not made any mistakes. This also reflects the scarcity of the US population to a large extent. Therefore, they will invest a lot of research in biological weapons, because no matter what else they invest in the final analysis, they need people to operate. And biological weapons, biological viruses, etc., can be completed by plundering or directly deploying. As for research and development funds? Sorry, what they lack the least is money. And not to mention Killian, who knows the prospects of the T-virus, the liquor, the nemesis, and the tyrant derived from the T-virus are all qualified biological weapons. Although the latter may cost tens of millions, think about it from another perspective. As long as you have him, he can complete any task perfectly, whether it is high temperature or glacier. You are equivalent to having a loyal 007 employee who never stops and is not afraid of death. The only thing you need to do is to regularly maintain his equipment, and nothing else is needed. Even in the end, he can't do it anymore, and he can be thrown into the enemy country casually, unlocking the final form directly. If he can't kill the other country, he can also make it sick to death. However, with his current wealth, he can only exchange this T-virus. If he wants to unlock the existence of the liquor, the goddess of vengeance, or even the tyrant, he needs a sky-high price gene map. In short, in the system, if there is anything that is the most uneconomical, it is the gene map, and the price is comparable to the top technology he can unlock at present. As for the second one, the brain control chip, to be honest, it is indeed a good thing for him now. After all, in this world, there is no privacy at all. Any small employee may be an undercover agent of Hydra, SHIELD, or even other national intelligence. He may not have such troubles now that the company is small, but as the company gradually expands, this brain control chip is definitely his inevitable choice. Once he has this thing, he can completely eliminate the phenomenon of commercial espionage or undercover. The third one is the high-frequency vibration knife in Metal Gear Solid. It looks good and handsome. Of course, the most important thing is that Killian is attracted by the energy source technology on it. He is very curious about what is inside that powers it to maintain such a high-frequency vibration. Not to mention the metal material that can resist such a high-frequency vibration. It can be said that this is definitely a brand new alloy. As long as it is made, it can be applied in a wide range. Whether it is military, national defense, or aerospace, it will be very popular. Of course, Killian is most concerned about the last one, the medical robot Baymax. He has watched the anime Big Hero 6. Not to mention that it can use chips to upgrade various services to expand Baymax's service routes. Just its own medical scan is worth the price. Killian may not know what everyone lacks the most, but what everyone must need is this kind of instrument that can detect physical health in a timely manner. After all, no one in this world wants to get sick. The body scanner that Baymax is equipped with can be said to be a unique black technology. As long as he chooses this one, even if he doesn't look for any company to cooperate with, he can still promote his pioneering technology and even become famous at home and abroad. Therefore, compared with the first three, this one is the most profitable for Killian now. After repeated comparisons, Killian directly chose this one. After a while, with Killian's choice, a large amount of blue data stream suddenly appeared in front of him, and then it merged into Killian's eyes like a moving train. After coming back to his senses the next time, Killian covered his swollen head. I don't know why, he always felt that the transmission just now had burned his brain. But to be honest, it's really worth it. Looking at the knowledge that appeared out of thin air in his brain, it can be said that all the information and technical research of Baymax from design conception to the final perfection of the factory are already in his brain. What he didn't expect was that the workload of making Baymax was not something that Killian could do alone. Smart chips, carbon fiber brackets, power motors, hyperspectral cameras and vinyl resin skins, each of these takes a lot of time and effort to make. I don't know if it should be attributed to the technological explosion of the era in which the protagonist of Big Hero 6 lives, or what. A student can research such epic-making technology. But thinking back to the name of the system's black technology, Killian couldn't help but understand. After all, if it wasn't black technology, it really wouldn't be qualified to be included in the system. After a long time, feeling the sudden strong cold wind, Killian finally decided to leave the balcony and return to the company to make Baymax first. Then, Killian came to the lobby on the first floor of the hotel from the elevator. Because it was already very early, there was no one else in the lobby except the staff. And Killian walked straight out of the lobby without paying attention to other people's eyes. Now he has to rush back to the company. Just when Killian just walked out of the hotel door, he saw an unexpected figure. Maya Hansen, at this moment, was sitting on the roadside holding a flower pot with green plants. From a distance, she looked like a puppy abandoned by its owner. After reviewing the plot, Killian immediately understood. This woman had taken advantage of this New Year's Eve party where many rich people gathered to get funding for her research over the years. And yesterday, she hooked up with Tony Stark as she wished. It's just a pity that no matter how she tried to communicate with Tony Stark, he just ate his staple food wholeheartedly. He was not interested in these biotech things at all. It can be said that the sugar-coated bullet directed by Maya Hansen was eaten up by Tony inside and out, and the bullet was thrown away directly. Chapter 3. Winning over and returning home. And now, the ball was over. With Tony Stark's departure without saying goodbye and the departure of the rich people, there was no point for her to stay here. At this time, looking at the potted plant in the other's hand, Killian couldn't help but have a thought in his heart. To be honest, the Extremis virus is really strong. If it can be improved in the later stage, it will be a great weapon. It is no exaggeration to say that the complete form of this thing should be comparable to the T-virus. Although it cannot withstand high energy impact, from the fact that Killian forcibly formed an Extremis unit in the later stage. As long as it is developed, the manufacturing cost of this thing will be considerable. Therefore, Killian decided to go up and fight for it. Hello, Miss Maya Hansen, I didn't expect to meet you so early. After going up, Killian's voice rang next to Maya Hansen. And as if she didn't realize that someone would come so early, when she heard Killian's voice, Maya Hansen couldn't help but be frightened. After seeing that the person coming was the investor who impressed her yesterday, her heart, which had been gloomy, suddenly seemed to be active again. Hello, Mr. Killian, right? Good morning, sorry, did I lose my composure a little? Then after seeing the other party's smile, Maya Hansen thought about her dazed look just now, and immediately said awkwardly after greeting him. Of course not, after all, every moment of a lady is charming. Killian just smiled slightly at Maya Hansen's words. It would be nice if she was really charming every moment. After hearing Killian's words, Maya Hansen couldn't help but touch her face and said self-deprecatingly, but after a while she came back to her senses and looked at Killian in front of her and continued to speak. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about you. If I remember correctly, you are the CEO of Avant-Garde Technology. Why are you here so early? Me. As you know, I was stood up by a big jerk all night. And now, I'm going to go back without getting anything. Killian spread his hands and said helplessly. Tony Stark. He's a jerk. Maya Hansen, who had experienced everything last night, naturally knew about the big jerk Killian mentioned. After all, the other party was with her the whole time, so naturally she had no time to look for him again. At this moment, looking at the man in front of her, for some reason, Maya Hansen subconsciously felt a sense of guilt. After all, if she hadn't been pulling Tony to let him look at her research, maybe Tony wouldn't have broken the appointment. And when she thought of the other party patting his butt and leaving without saying a word early in the morning, Maya Hansen couldn't help but speak. Well, I think we at least highly agree on this point. By the way, I still say that our organization has been paying close attention to your research since your sophomore year. So if you have figured it out, please call the number I gave you yesterday. I will always be waiting for your good news. After seeing a taxi coming, Killian got in after saying the last sentence, and then gradually disappeared in the distance as the taxi started. At this time, looking at the man going away, Maya Hansen couldn't help but take out a business card in her backpack. The name of Killian, CEO of AIM Technology, was printed on it. Maybe this is the choice God gave me. Looking at the business card on it, Maya Hansen murmured. Before this, she originally thought that she could use her beauty to attract investment for her hard work for so long, but the result was, nothing happened. When she woke up early this morning, she even felt that the world was so big, but she didn't have a place. For a moment, she wanted to just give up. In fact, if she gave up her current research, she would enjoy life, find a man to fall in love with, and then work and live a dull life together. It was actually a good choice. But at this moment, after seeing Killian, she found that she was wrong, so wrong. As a scientist, no one is willing to be mediocre. Every scientist who is dedicated to research, no one does not want to promote his invention and let everyone praise his creation from the bottom of their hearts. At least, she has full confidence in her research. For a moment, Maya Hansen seemed to be alive again after a brief depression, looking at the business card in her hand with shining eyes. At this moment, she felt that she was not alone. She squeezed the business card in her hand hard, and her idea in her mind was naturally obvious. But before that, she still needed a little preparation. And on the other side, Miami, Florida. After the plane landed, he drove the company's long-equipped special car back to his residence. As for Killian now, after getting off the car, he looked at his house for the first time. It was a standard American two-story villa. Although it was not as good as the manor of several thousand square meters in the later period, for Killian, he believed that these were all matters of time. After locking the car, Killian went into the room, made himself a simple cup of oatmeal, and began to deal with the upcoming plan. Because the materials needed for the production of Dabe need to be specially ordered and customized, he immediately contacted the person in charge of the company's purchasing department and ordered the materials needed for the production of Dabe overnight. For this, he spent an additional few $100,000 in handling fees. But for him, these were reasonable and necessary expenses. After borrowing the laptop in the house, Killian finally sorted out his thoughts. He fell straight on the bed and fell asleep. After a day, coupled with the fatigue from the journey, Killian's body had long been unable to bear it. Even if it weren't for the remaining sanity, he would have wanted to directly exchange for Alice's exclusive T-virus and give himself an injection. The next day. With the morning light shining. Lisa, are all the materials I need ready? Killian, who had just arrived at the office in a startup park in Miami, asked the secretary in front of his door. Chapter 4 Stark Architecture. Boss, the materials you need have basically arrived and are now in the laboratory. It's just, regarding the lithography machine for making chips, according to your needs, it will cost at least $100 million to buy it. In view of your order demand, I have contacted a company specializing in chip research in the park. They said that if we need it, they can rent it to us at a price of $100,000 a day, but it must be operated on their premises. Of course, if you insist on buying the lithography machine, here is the contact list of the lithography machine manufacturers. I have contacted them in advance. As long as the money is in place, you can meet your new love as early as tonight. After hearing the boss's instructions, Lisa at the door immediately twisted her enchanting figure, took the already prepared materials and walked into Killian's office and spoke. Well, you did a great job, Lisa. I like your attentive work style. But this time I still suggest you follow my method and order a high-end lithography machine and send it to the laboratory as soon as possible. I need it urgently. Killian naturally didn't think there was anything wrong with Lisa's proposal. After all, if he didn't know the development prospects of Dabe, he would definitely choose the other party's second proposal. But since he knew that Dabe would definitely be a bestseller, the first thing to do was to control the production channels in his own hands. Moreover, if he made chips in someone else's site, he didn't know what other people would do anyway, but if it was Killian himself, he would definitely find ways to set up surveillance nearby and copy the production data. Whether it was useful or not, the data was not large anyway, so it didn't matter even if it was stored in a hard drive to collect dust. But as long as he encountered a potential one, even if it was only one in a few decades, it would be enough for him to eat for a long time. So keeping the principle of caution, Killian would rather spend more money now to prevent danger before it happens. Okay, boss, is there anything else you need me to do? After hearing Killian's rejection of her proposal and then his affirmation, Lisa, who was sad at first and then a little happy, immediately spoke to Killian. Nothing else, I will stay in the laboratory for a while, don't let anyone disturb me. Just leave the 3 meals a day in the isolation room, I will go get them. Oh, by the way, I want to build a technology building and an underground research institute in the suburbs. When you are free, remember to help me keep an eye out for any design companies that meet the requirements. After hearing Lisa's words, Killian thought for a while and then said, build a building? But boss, our building has only been renewed for a short time, and it shouldn't need to be built, right? After hearing Killian's words, Lisa blinked her big eyes and looked at Killian in disbelief. Believe me, Lisa, within a few months, we will usher in earth-shaking changes, and what I have to do now is to plan for my future before that. By the way, I will need at least a few hundred employees for the future building, and ordinary technology buildings cannot satisfy me. In response to Lisa's question, Killian adjusted his suit, then stood up, looking at the rising sun outside the window, and said firmly word by word. If that's the case, then I suggest we go directly to Stark Construction Company. In the industry, their construction standards are definitely the best. Looking at the way Killian spoke, Lisa couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, but soon recovered, and then made a suggestion. Go find it. After hearing Lisa's words, Killian was speechless for a moment. He didn't expect that the famous Stark Arms Group, a giant specializing in various high-tech fields such as military industry, artificial intelligence, aerospace, etc., actually developed in the field of construction. Okay, I'll notify the people in the R&D department to cooperate immediately. After nodding, Lisa immediately prepared to walk out the door. Looking at the blonde secretary who closed the door respectfully and left, Killian couldn't help but highly agree with his previous taste. Although this secretary has her own little thoughts, no matter what she is asked to do, even if she has doubts, she will always carry it out to the end. And for a manager, this is the most favorite person. After all, no one likes subordinates who ask them to do things and ask them to the bottom every time. Then, after tidying up his clothes, Killian walked towards the laboratory. After a while, Killian came to the underground laboratory. Because it was originally an entrepreneurial park, and the Pioneer Technology is also a pharmaceutical development company, so they were assigned to the medical park, and the laboratory here is also located underground and has strict confidentiality blockade. It can be said that Killian doesn't even need to build a special facility like a honeycomb to study the T-virus. He can concentrate on studying the T-virus here without worrying about leaks. Of course, except for the Tyrant experiment. If it is a liquor, looking at the high-strength bulletproof glass made of composite materials in front of him with a thickness of 20 centimeters, Killian is also full of confidence. After all, the official propaganda is that this thing can withstand rockets. Although Killian doesn't know why a medical park needs to be equipped with such high-strength bulletproof glass. But after all, it involves medical professions. In the laboratory, it is also normal to occasionally explode rockets. And for this reason, Killian knows that his company will sooner or later involve various fields, so he will choose this place as the development site for his company. Of course, in addition to this, the rent is also the most expensive. Not long after, accompanied by researchers in white coats passing through the isolation gates of layers of processes, they finally came to the divided test area. Killian has turned his back to everyone and started writing something on the laboratory table. It's just that Killian, who is looking at the monograph, although everyone was already there, everyone naturally stood there waiting. Hello, You guys are here. Sorry, I was just writing something and got so engrossed in it. After a long time, when he had finally written out the steps that Dabe needed to produce, Killian couldn't help but smile as he looked at the people not far away who were consciously not approaching him. Chapter 5, Preliminary Study. It's okay, boss. We've been resting for so long. It's okay to wait a little longer. Please work on the project for us. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to pay back the bank loan next month. After seeing the boss's relaxed expression, a senior researcher among the crowd followed suit and joked. You know, although they are on a monthly salary system, this is just a fixed salary. The real big money still comes from the project. And for a long time before this, they only received some small projects, and even in the last few months, they didn't receive any projects. And this time, looking at the boss's expression, they naturally believed that this project was definitely not ordinary. Don't worry, everyone, this time I have a heavyweight project in my hands. What I can promise is that as long as it is successfully completed, then everyone's year-end bonus will definitely be a number you can't imagine. It won't be a problem to double your monthly salary. Looking at the researchers in front of him, although they are not the top experts in the industry, each of them was collected by him at a high salary, so Killian is also very clear about them, and then he painted a pie in the sky for everyone as if he didn't want money. Sure enough. After hearing what Killian said, everyone was shocked by Killian's words, and then they were extremely excited. At this moment, everyone seemed to see that it would not be long before they were holding a lot of money, beautiful women, luxury cars, and luxury houses, as if everything was waving at them. Pa pa pa. But before everyone could continue to fantasize, they were brought back to reality by Killian's applause. This is the direction that everyone will be responsible for. Now each team will be responsible for its own work. Romanber of Group A, you will lead your team to be mainly responsible for the production of the vinyl resin outer skin. It must ensure its high elasticity and flexibility while ensuring its anti-puncture safety. The above is the design draft of this thing. The final product, I will treat it as a material similar to a balloon. But it must be popularized in the daily life of the public, so in this area, you must be careful and responsible, understand? Looking at the more experienced researcher in Group A in front of him, Killian said earnestly. To be honest, this is the most important step in the process of making Baymax, except for the chip he is responsible for. You know, no matter which country you are in, safety issues are extremely important, and this is the most important in the United States. It can be said that as long as there is a problem with your product and a child is even slightly injured, you will face endless legal proceedings and compensation. Don't worry, boss, I have absolutely no problem here. After seeing the information handed over by the boss, although there is no extremely complicated process on it, as developers, they also know that safety issues are absolutely the top priority, so Romanber only took a rough look and assured Killian. After handing over the external materials of Baymax to the company's more experienced Group A, looking at the R&D Groups B and C on the side, Killian also handed over a manuscript he had written to his team leader. There are 3 groups in total, A, B, and C, which are responsible for the vinyl resin skin, carbon fiber bracket and power motor respectively. As for the hyperspectral camera and smart chip, Killian himself is mainly responsible. Now he doesn't have a brain control chip, although these people have been with him for a long time, basically they can rule out the suspicion of being spies. But he is not a person who puts his life in the hands of others. Okay, now everyone has their own tasks. I have only one requirement for you, that is to complete them with quality, quantity and high efficiency. I can say that your completion speed is inversely proportional to the thickness of your bonus. The faster you complete it, the thicker the bonus. Okay, now everyone, get busy. After finally painting a big cake for everyone, Killian waved his hand and walked straight out. The area he was responsible for was placed in the innermost layer by him. Prepare to start researching the last large core of Dabe, the pseudo-artificial intelligence chip and the hyperspectral camera that can scan the human body. Because the materials have been prepared long ago, Killian began to study the hyperspectral camera after entering the laboratory. And no one would have thought that in the new year, in a certain laboratory, a medical robot that opened up a new era of the future is about to come out. In a blink of an eye, a month passed quietly, and unknowingly, the whole United States has entered a carnival dedicated to the new year. At this moment, everyone is enjoying the warmth of family and the close reunion of their families at home. In the Miami Startup Park, there is a different company. The whole building is brightly lit, and everyone is busy with their own things. It seems that all the noise from the outside world has nothing to do with this place. In the underground laboratory under the building, a group of researchers in white coats are watching the red metal storage box in the center of the laboratory, not far away. In the main control room next to it, Killian is also looking at it attentively. "Boss, the equipment is calibrated and the program is stable. The voltage is stable. The main control panel is normal." In the laboratory, several researchers are solemnly conveying the calibration content they are responsible for, and everything is normal. The equipment starts. At this moment, Killian said calmly after hearing what they said. "Paya." As Killian's voice fell, the programmers in charge of the operation inside immediately started to power on, transmit data, and start the program. With the formal approval of one permit after another, the red metal storage box in the middle of the laboratory suddenly opened automatically, and then a nearly deflated balloon began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, a round and fat image appeared in front of everyone. Then, in the eyes of everyone's surprise, after a brief observation of the surroundings, he walked out of the suitcase and stepped on the floor of the laboratory for the first time. "Hello, can you introduce yourself?" At this time, Killian's voice echoed in the laboratory. "Hello, boss, I'm Baymax, a personal health consultant developed by AIM Technology. I noticed that you have a sharp wound on your body. Can I provide you with medical care?" After hearing Killian's voice, Baymax, who recognized the sound, immediately spoke, but after seeing Killian walk in with an injured arm, he couldn't help but try to speak again. Chapter 6: The Birth of Dabe. "Next, I will perform a medical scan on you to ensure that there are no additional injuries. I will scan you now." Then, as Baymax finished speaking, he looked up and down at Killian for a few seconds, and then finished. "Scan completed. You have a mild wound on your right arm. It is recommended to use disinfectant spray and then stick a band-aid. Next, I will treat your wound. It may be a little painful. Do you need to play comfortable music or exciting movies to distract you? No need for this, just start the treatment." Killian directly rejected Baymax's recommendation. He had tried this function at the beginning of the design. These conversations were set up by him one-to-one, and he even spent tens of millions to buy a huge database online to feed it. It can be said that no artificial intelligence is born without a huge database to feed it. And this time, he just wanted to experience Baymax's care in person, so he cut himself. But for now, he does not regret this cut. It is worth it. This is Killian's biggest feeling. Afterwards, with Killian's arm extended, Baymax gently took Killian's arm with his left hand and placed it on his soft palm, then placed his right index finger on the wound, and then sprayed a light red disinfectant spray on the wound, evenly taking care of every corner. A small band-aid appeared in Baymax's right hand, and he carefully opened it and covered Killian's wound. After a while, Baymax's treatment was completed. "You performed very well. To reward your bravery, I will give you a lollipop." Looking at Killian in front of him, Baymax said in a gentle tone, and then took out a lollipop from his hand and handed it out. "Nice, I like this very much." After taking the lollipop, Killian opened it directly and put it in his mouth to suck it. "If you are satisfied with my service, please give me a good review, otherwise I will not be able to return to the hibernation chamber to rest." After seeing Killian in front of him take over his last service, Baymax immediately spoke. "Of course, I am very satisfied with your performance." Looking at the cute Baymax in front of him, Killian's calm face could not help but show a happy smile. After hearing Killian's words, Baymax turned around and returned to his hibernation chamber. As it shrank a little bit, the round Baymax successfully returned to the red suitcase. At this moment, all the staff here seemed to cheer for Killian's evaluation and Baymax's performance. Hugs, carnivals, tears of joy, all kinds of excitement appeared on everyone. At this moment, they seemed to be the candidates who had prepared for many years, and finally succeeded in the final sprint, and were admitted to the dream school and realized their dreams. Killian couldn't help but laugh at this scene. Everyone here today will receive a bonus of $100,000 per person, and year-end bonuses are not included. This is my New Year's red envelope for everyone. Happy New Year. As if to make the atmosphere hot again, Killian, who is in the laboratory at this moment, raised his hands and said loudly to everyone, "Wow. Yes." For a moment, the already lively laboratory was boiling again. Everyone jumped up and hugged the people next to them with great joy. After that, After Killian asked someone to put the metal box containing Dabe into the safe, he shook his dizzy head, looked at the time, and walked out. And as if by chance, when everyone walked out of the laboratory and came to the door of the company, the sky was full of fireworks that suddenly lit up the entire night sky. It was like a perfect salute for the successful conclusion of the project. However, because of half a month of hard work day and night, everyone went home separately after watching for a while. And Killian also returned to his home for the second time after half a month. In the past 2 months, Killian stayed in the laboratory every day and slept only 4 or 5 hours a day. The long-term fatigue made him lose a lot of weight. After making a simple meal for himself, Killian fell on the bed and fell asleep. The next day, when Killian woke up again, it was already the afternoon of the next day, and the weather was still sunny. After a simple breakfast, Killian came to the swimming pool. Because it is located in the subtropical area, the temperature in Miami is 17 or 18 degrees even in winter. For a body that lacks exercise and is somewhat malnourished, swimming is his best choice now. I don't know how much time has passed. At this moment, Killian leaned his upper body on the steps of the swimming pool, and the whole person closed his eyes and thought about something. Dark Technology System of the Universe, Host, Aldridge Killian, Reputation. 726, Technology Mall, Level 1, 1000, 10,000, Technology Unlocking Progress, None, Unlock Technology, Big Hero 6 Baymax, Primary Version, Completion 100%, now he has completed the research and development of Baymax. Although the reputation has not yet arrived, he has to put the next step on the agenda in advance. After all, he knows clearly that the world he lives in now is not the former Blue Planet, but the Marvel Universe full of dangers. The later Insight Project, Ultron, Dark Elves, Thanos, and even the Celestials contained in the Earth itself, none of these can be solved by his current arms and legs. Not to mention the Inhumans on the moon, the Skrulls who deliberately want to change the world, and the restless villains such as the King of Power who caused the collapse of the Earth. If he doesn't take advantage of this only free time to develop himself, then when various disasters come to the Earth in the future, he will have no choice but to wait for death. For now, he still has his eyes on the T-Virus and the Terminator. The T-Virus wins in its practicality, whether it is used as a biological weapon or as a medicine. In the movie, Marcus invented the T-Virus, which can not only be used to save his daughter's progeria, but also to treat thousands of diseases. Chapter 7 T-Virus and Invitation. After knowing the effect of the T-Virus, Marcus thought he had opened a new chapter for mankind, which would keep people away from disease and aging. However, because he was too eager for quick success in the process, the side effect, that is, the appearance of zombies, was caused. And because of these reasons, Marcus was ready to stop the project, but he ignored the greed of human nature. His collaborators would not give up huge profits because of a small mistake, so the usurpation of the throne began. His partner Isaac successfully overthrew Marcus and took over himself. For him, the birth of a special medicine is far less profitable than using it in the military. Not to mention why the drug development is so good, to cure all diseases? Then what will they rely on for food in the future? He can tell the difference between a full meal and a full meal. So, after this, it was the era when the T-Virus was used as a biological weapon. Zombies, hellhounds, lickers, goddesses of vengeance and even tyrants were all developed based on this. And for a long time after this, Umbrella was committed to developing the biological weapon expansion of the T-Virus, ignoring its own ability to bring cells back to life. So in the movie, Edward Ashford, who had developed the T-Virus with Marcus, that is, the wheelchair doctor in the second part of the movie, began to do his own little actions for his paralyzed daughter and for himself. He wanted to develop the recovery ability of the T-Virus again, so he succeeded in the following time. He made his daughter stand up again through the specially developed improved version of the T-Virus serum. And this is the ability of the T-Virus. Whether it is developing weapons or medicine, it is omnipotent. So the T-Virus has always been at the top of Killian's list of candidates. And the Terminator later is also a big blade. Whether it is the Terminator T-600, T-850 inside, these are first-class war weapons. Each one can have offline intelligent action without signal. Although its intelligence is not high, if you act in a place without signal, it means that there are hostile forces all around. Then the role of the signal is not great. And Killian is also particularly envious of Skynet and the Terminator, which is a real artificial intelligence. This has a high degree of self-awareness, which is already considered an intelligent life form, and it has become a race in its own right. It can be said that if a civilization has pseudo-artificial intelligence, they will usher in an era of rapid development of the entire industry. In the early days of Marvel, Tony was able to announce in front of the media around the world that his technology was at least 20 years ahead of the world, and this is also the reason. Because of the existence of Jarvis, a pseudo-artificial intelligence, he can only provide a direction, and then Jarvis will simulate the data and calculate a successful path for him among thousands of wrong paths. And he only needs to point out the direction at the critical moment, and even if he sometimes cooperates and points to a smaller range, then the speed will be faster. That is why Tony has just developed the armor in 2008, and then used the Mk-50 nano armor to beat Thanos in 2017. In just less than 10 years, his armor has ushered in rapid changes. From the primitive cave iron helmet armor to the nano armor that can roam the universe, the technological leap can be said to be extremely terrifying. And most of the credit will eventually be attributed to Jarvis. It can be said that if Killian has Skynet, then he will have extremely rapid development in the research and development of science and technology. It is not a dream to rule the Earth in 3 years, the Milky Way in 5 years, and the universe in 10 years. The only problem is that the Terminator does not have the conditions to be born in this world now. A high-tech that is coveted by all countries and has super future elements, if it cannot be guaranteed that everyone gets it, then he can imagine that what he will face is definitely a storm. And if the Terminator wants to be a threat, it must be organized. In that case, the requirements for signal transmission are very strict. Unless he can cover the entire Earth with his own satellites like Musk, form a star chain, and establish a full signal network. Then build the artificial intelligence Skynet and let it control it. Otherwise, it is immature after all, and the technology tree requirements of the Terminator world are still too high. He is just starting now and can't master it. And the Terminator can't help him turn the tables at present. There is no benefit except that he gets a huge military expenditure from the US government and is feared by other countries and foreign forces. So after convincing himself, Killian set his sights on the T-virus. After making a decision, Killian opened his eyes again, and then jumped up to the ground. After simply wiping his body, he began to enter his study. After turning on the computer, he began to write his plan for the next step. For him, time is urgent. At the same time, as time passed little by little, one by one, invitations were sent to each media through a new entrepreneurial park in Miami. Epic making technology, the advent of medical robots, your exclusive personal health consultant. Oh, now the forest is really big, and any rubbish invitation dares to be sent. In the office building of the New York Times, an editor looked at the email handed to him by his assistant. After reading it, he threw it into the trash can beside him with disdain, and then said while complaining, "But boss, I think what they said in the invitation letter is very convincing, and I have also checked the company, and it is indeed capable. Why not go and take a look?" After seeing his boss throw away the invitation letter that he thought was a surprise, the assistant beside him couldn't help but say cautiously, "Haha, young man, the more this kind of propaganda sounds like the truth, the more we should be vigilant. We are the most influential newspaper in the United States. We should focus on those people and companies who really do practical things for our city. If you believe these things, I had 3 people claiming that there were aliens in their homes last week, 2 people were abducted by aliens at home, and last week someone insisted that his parents were replaced by aliens. And then there are people who say they saw angels. Oh my God, in short, young man, you are still young, and you still have a long way to go in the future. Don't be too naive. Okay, get your equipment ready, and come with me to interview our famous New York philanthropist Mr. Fisk." After telling his own experience, the editor patted the assistant in front of him and then walked out. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8: Invitation Letter and Responses from Law Circles. Similar experiences also happened in many other news media. Of course, the main reason is that in the city where many elites and wealthy people from all over the world gather, there are too many people who use the so-called future robots as a sign to deceive people into publicity and investment. In addition, these were exposed in the end. Afterwards, not only investors but also the media were ridiculed by the public. So people have become numb to this situation. But there are also special cases. On the other side, there is a building of the Daily Bugle on 39th Street, 2nd Avenue, New York City. As J. Jonah Jameson, who is committed to making the Daily Bugle the #1 news media in the United States, looked at the newspaper that has been unable to make ends meet for several consecutive months because there was no news to show. He smoked one cigar after another in worry, and the whole office was surrounded by white fog. And not only that, on his desk, there were news materials collected by the editors one after another that they thought were hot products. But every one of them made his blood pressure rise. If he hadn't just taken the antihypertensive medicine, he seriously suspected that he would have appeared in the emergency room of the ICU at this moment, instead of being angry at a bunch of useless stupid photos. Damn it, for God's sake, I really want to stuff you idiots back intact and retrain them. Even if a 3-year-old kid wrote these, they wouldn't be so bland as you. Everyone is a bunch of pigs who get paid but don't do a single thing. At this moment, Jameson cursed while trying to look through the materials collected by his subordinates, but it was obvious that he overestimated their professional level. After throwing all of them away, there was still no news that satisfied him. Until the next second, he saw a letter printed from Miami on the table. Strange, I don't remember that I have friends there. After muttering something, with doubts in his heart, Jameson finally opened the letter, and inside it, the letter paper with a photo of Dabe and his detailed introduction was also taken out. Era-changing technology, the advent of medical robots, your exclusive personal health consultant. We will take you to open a new chapter in the future world. Interesting. After opening it, looking at the invitation letter and its text, Jameson, who was originally angry as if thunder was about to strike, seemed to see an iceberg beauty, and his mood turned from gloomy to sunny in an instant. Banlier. Get your damn ass off your seat immediately and come to my office. After opening the door, Jameson roared at the middle-aged man with the glasses who was playing with a female intern in a seat not far away. For him, during his working hours, every minute and every second of rest is stealing his money, not to mention picking up girls in public. This month, he must be deducted for full attendance. This is what James said in his heart. Then he closed the door angrily. Boss, hello, what can I do for you? After entering the door, Banlier said to Jameson, who was crossing his legs on the desk, with a humble expression on his face. Here, take it and report it immediately. Put it on the second page, and the whole article revolves around the title. It basically says, shocking. Is the birth of robots a blessing or doomsday for mankind? Then focus on the fact that robots may rebel and rule over humans, and you can write the rest yourself. After handing the invitation letter to the other party, Jameson immediately said, but, boss, it doesn't say that. After hearing what his boss said, Banlier took the invitation letter and looked at it from left to right. He looked at it several times and didn't see any difference between this thing and sci-fi robots and immortality, so he asked with a puzzled look, huh? Tell me again that he didn't say that. Are your quail egg-sized eyes crazy? Did he mention robots? Yes. Then was he the birth of robots, and did he mention medical treatment? Yes. Then could it be good news? Yes. Then have you seen the Terminator? This. Huh? Yes. Facing the boss's aggressive words, Banlier couldn't help but bow and nod with sweat all over his head. Who made him face one of the most exploitative vampires in New York? Then could it be a rebellion? Could it be the end of mankind? Tell me, such a simple and easy to understand truth is right here. What else do you not understand? Do you have to take you to explain it to you word by word like a kindergarten teacher? Looking at the subordinates in front of him who have been with him for so long, but have not been influenced by even 1/10,000th of his IQ, Jameson said with regret. I understand. Thank you for your advice, boss. I'll do it right away. After hearing that Jameson was about to lose his temper, Banlier said respectfully, then immediately turned around and ran out. Hey. Young people nowadays are not like me back then, making the boss worry-free. But this thing is quite interesting. Saturday? I have to go and see it. After Banlier walked out, Jameson, who had calmed down again, looked at the invitation in front of him and couldn't help muttering. For him, if the newspaper wants to stand out, it must always have the vision to find the explosion point. And now, he thinks this thing may be the big explosion point. Of course, it's just a possibility. Forgive him, he really can't connect a human-shaped balloon with this so-called metal robot. Because of the influence of similar robot movies such as The Terminator, people now always think that robots will only be those with metal skeletons, or at most robots that are exactly the same as humans. And this kind of balloon robot, forgive their knowledge, really don't have that kind of imagination. Saturday night. Times Square in New York. As the core economic center of the United States, New York is a world-class metropolis with a population of 8 million. Every day, tens of thousands of dreamers come to this city of endless opportunities with their ideals and interests to fight and strive for a legendary life of their own. This is especially true at night. Chapter 9 Product Launch. New York at night is a world where heaven and hell coexist. The rich are reveling in luxury every night, while the working people gather in their small houses of a few square meters, hoping for the dawn of life. This is a city where opportunities and crises coexist. It is like a torrent with hidden treasures. Everyone travels alone in a wooden canoe in the torrent, hoping to get the buried treasure. But if they take a wrong step, the boat will be destroyed and everyone will die. As the holy land for the communication of brands from all over the world, New York Times Square, known as the crossroads of the world, is the darling of this city. Here, 350,000 people pass by and stop every day. It is the square business district with the highest traffic in the world and is regarded as one of the best windows to attract global attention. Under these conditions, there is no doubt that every brand that can land in Times Square here will inevitably gain huge exposure. In a week, Pioneer Technology's press conference in New York only welcomed less than 20 reporters who came to attend the press conference. Moreover, many of them were reporters from small and medium-sized newspapers, and there were not even a few medium-sized newspapers. The famous news agencies didn't even take a look. It was obvious that they basically regarded the press conference as a circus clown show. But for Killian, it was enough for them to come. And there was no shortage of publicity people in the New York Times. At this moment, his eyes were extremely excited, because this time it would represent the official start of his journey in the Marvel Universe. But what Killian couldn't imagine was that although the reporters from the news media invited to the scene did not come, they had actually asked their assistants or interns to come and continue to pay attention to this so-called product launch privately. After all, everything said in the publicity was too sci-fi. If they were really invited, and this was a fictitious event, as a leading news company, they really couldn't afford to lose face. But although many people thought it was just a publicity stunt, if it was done privately, it would have no impact. After all, they could also ask the assistants to take some photos of the news media on the scene, so that they could write the next day that the IQ of a certain media reporter was worrying, and that April Fool's jokes were actually taken seriously. On the other side, as the lights came on, Killian walked onto the stage in his gray-white suit. In the audience in front of him, there were more than 20 journalists from various states sitting on the rows of seats. Of course, if he performed well, there would be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people watching him through the screen under the spotlight. Hello, everyone. My name is Killian, the founder of Pioneer Technology. I am very grateful to the elite media from major newspapers and the tens of thousands of audience members who were invited to the scene this time. Thank you very much for coming to our company's press conference. Of course, I can guarantee that you will never regret your choice today. Looking at the hundreds of people in front of him, and the people coming and going outside, from time to time there were tens of thousands of people stopping in the square to watch him on the big screen. At this moment, Killian felt extremely honored, and a kind of momentum that who else but me, the country is in my hands, continued to gather in his heart. As Killian's voice fell, the seats at the scene laughed. As for how much of it was laughter and how much was ridicule, it was unknown. For Killian, none of this mattered. He looked at everyone in front of him without moving forward, and then kept smiling and said, "My original plan for this press conference was to divide it into two parts. The first part is to introduce our company and its founding philosophy. The second part is to introduce and demonstrate the products." But I looked around and found that most of the people here are young people. They may be impatient like me and are not interested in those old-fashioned and illusory things. Coincidentally, I am the same, so I decided to start introducing our products directly. The protagonist this time will also be everyone's personal health consultant in the future, the medical service robot Baymax. As Killian's voice fell, the light that was originally shining on Killian suddenly disappeared, and then focused on the red and white suitcase in front of him, which everyone thought was luggage. And it was this beam of light that made everyone notice the box. For a time, the scene was full of whispers. "Oh my God, I don't know why I always feel that this suitcase will give me a surprise. That's impossible, it's a robot. Even if it's a medical robot, it can't be made now, right? Medical robot, is it really God's blessing on us? The era of technological explosion has come. None of this is important, I just know that this founder is really handsome. Then looking at the suddenly noisy scene, Killian didn't have any intention of controlling it. Instead, in the eyes of everyone, he took out the knife in his arms and cut a small hole on his arm. So, the scene once again reproduced the incredible expressions of everyone in the laboratory before. After the red and white suitcase stretched out, everyone realized that the suitcase was all red, and the so-called white was the real protagonist this time. And Debbie also completed a wave of bandages for Killian in the surprised eyes of everyone, just like the previous test. Sir, if you are satisfied with my service, please give me a good review so that I can rest again. After the operation, Debbie said politely to Killian with those cute and friendly words. Sorry, Debbie, this time it may take a little while. Our audience friends are still watching you. In response to Debbie's words, Killian smiled and gestured to the dumbfounded people in the audience. Hello everyone. I am Debbie, the private medical consultant. After hearing Killian's words, Debbie also looked down. After seeing everyone, Debbie took 2 steps forward with his fat steps, and then spoke. I am afraid of Shibo. Impossible. It's fake, absolutely fake, there must be someone inside. In an instant, the voices of disbelief rose one after another, once again creating a climax for the atmosphere on the scene. Some reporters who were not invited before and were secretly watching below suddenly stood up and said, Chapter 10 Debbie's solo show. However, the people present ignored their doubts, because everyone's eyes were on Baymax, and they could not move away for even a second. Okay, friends, I know that the medical robot thing may be a little shocking and unbelievable to everyone. But isn't this the purpose of our press conference today? It is to let everyone experience it in person and interact with our smart personal health consultant, Baymax, more directly at a close distance. Okay, everyone, please be patient and don't get excited. Next, I will call out the names of those who are willing to come up one by one to experience it. After seeing that almost everyone in the entire Times Square stopped in place because of Baymax, Killian picked up the microphone in his hand and continued to speak to everyone with a smile on his face. Next, please ask the beautiful reporter in the second seat in the first row to come up. You can think of questions and talk to our Baymax yourself. It's all fine. Of course, I want to reiterate that Baymax is only a medical health consultant now, not a real person, so remember not to be too biased when asking questions. After Killian finished speaking, he brought the reporter who had just been called to Baymax. Hello, sorry, I might be a little excited. I really didn't expect that I could actually see the legendary robot this time. He really is, can I touch it? At this time, the beautiful reporter who was chosen seemed to have suddenly won $1 million prize. She was so happy that she didn't even know how she got to the stage. After she reacted, she asked Killian excitedly with a blush on her face. Killian did not answer the beautiful reporter's question, but tilted his head and gestured to Debbie. As expected, after seeing Killian's situation, the beautiful reporter immediately looked at Debbie. Of course, I detect that you are in a very emotional state now, and a warm hug will solve your troubles very well. Excuse me, can I hug you? At this moment, seeing the boss's gesture and looking at the lady coming towards him, Debbie also tilted his head and opened his arms and said, Wow. He must be a lustful robot. As Debbie's voice fell, similar jokes and booing instantly ran through the entire square. After all, a robot, and one that looks like a male, said such words to a female reporter. Everyone would doubt whether the developer had something bad in mind. However, this was just a joke and it passed quickly. The female reporter just blushed and nodded in agreement. Then the female reporter felt a soft cotton candy, warm as the sun, and smelled a faint fragrance. The whole person seemed to be back to the time when she was held by her mother when she was a child. In an instant, she felt that she had relaxed unprecedentedly. All the tasks, work, and boyfriends were thrown behind her. Now she just wanted to enjoy her own beautiful moment. The scene of this reporter was also perfectly shown by the camera on the side. The many people present looked at the changes in each other's expressions and couldn't help but quiet down for a while, as if they were afraid that a little sound would disturb the other party. I detect that you have completely recovered. Do you want me to let you go? After a long time, Debbie, who is holding the beautiful reporter in front of him, said in a friendly manner. "Ah. Wow, your body is so warm. I've never met skin like yours. Can you tell me what material it is made of? If my bed is made of the same material, I won't suffer from insomnia anymore." Following Dabe's reminder, the beautiful reporter finally woke up from the comfortable embrace and reluctantly let go of him. After taking a step back, she looked at Dabe's silly expression and recalled the soft touch of Dabe. The reporter asked curiously while pointing her finger at Dabe's belly. "My outer skin is made of vinyl resin, which is safe, non-toxic and harmless and has passed strict standards. As for the production process, I don't have the right to query it. Sorry, I can't tell you. To express my apology, and as your reward, this is a strawberry-flavored lollipop. May you always be sweet." In response to the reporter's question, Dabe honestly explained it and then produced a pink lollipop from his hand and handed it to the other party. "Wow, thank you, you are so thoughtful. If you were a real person, I would definitely consider you as my boyfriend." Seeing that the robot in front of her could even give out lollipops to comfort people, the beautiful reporter was really shocked at this moment. She had never thought that a robot could be so humane. She even felt the sweetness of the lollipop before she took it into her mouth. According to my database, a boyfriend is a human male friend, usually a name between lovers, in a state before entering marriage. It is often used to describe a man and a woman who are in a relationship, when the woman recognizes that the man is in a relationship and uses the title of boyfriend to express her attitude. It's a pity that I'm just a robot, but thank you for your recognition. I'm very happy, and I wish you to find your own boyfriend as soon as possible." Dabe tilted his head, as if he was stunned for a while, and then replied with a smile. "Thank you, I'm very happy to see you today, and I look forward to our future encounters." After hearing Dabe's words, the female reporter couldn't help but laugh, and then returned to her seat after saying goodbye for the last time. And at this moment, with the interaction between the reporters and Dabe on the stage, anyone with a discerning eye can see that this press conference is about to cause an incredible sensation. Therefore, those reporters who originally did not come, or came without interview equipment, are now so anxious that they are jumping up and down and making phone calls. Quick, take the interview equipment and rush over directly. What? Traffic jam, can't you use the station's director helicopter to fly over? Do you need me to teach you this? I warn you, if you come a little slower, I promise to stick your head into your ass. Kid, sell me your camera and I'll pay. What? $500? Why don't you go and rob it? Okay, you win, give it to me. Film? $100, you win, you damn little vampire. As the above interview was going on, every private reporter present at this moment seemed to be full of confidence when calling the newspaper, and shouted openly, but at this moment, Times Square had already been crowded with tens of thousands of people. Chapter 11, Counter Questions. In order to ease the pressure on the scene and avoid a bigger safety accident, several police stations in the surrounding area began to take the initiative to maintain order on the scene. However, these have nothing to do with Killian at this time, or maybe he doesn't know it at all. After the various professional questions about Baymax asked by the first few people who called, the names were explained in detail one by one, and its various uses were also demonstrated. After that, the reporters seemed to have awakened, no longer entangled in the functions of Baymax, but asked questions around how to create a more exciting topic. For example, now Baymax has also ushered in its first tough opponent. At this moment, a senior reporter, after being invited to the stage, looked at the round Baymax in front of him, and the man immediately asked, "Have you ever thought that your birth may take away many human jobs, and they will also lose their jobs because of you?" This can be said to be a very sharp question. You must know that although the current national version has not been updated to the outrageous era before Killian traveled through time. However, the job issue is extremely important in any country. It can be said that no government will sit idly by and watch the arrival of a large-scale layoff wave. Although these are still far away, if Dabe's answer is not perfect, it is conceivable that it will definitely be resisted by many medical workers. After all, one is a robot that can work without salary and emotion, and the other is a job that can only make a living by working hard. Everyone knows how to make a choice. Hello, my creator has given me the responsibility of a personal health consultant. I will not engage in any medical-related work, and will not replace any existing medical work. And I will complete my work with humans and provide help and support for human personal health. When my creator created me, He only gave me the responsibility of providing advice and help to help humans stay safe and healthy, and I will also help every human who needs my help under the regulations. And I believe that sooner or later you will see thousands of robots like me contributing to the world. Dabe gave his answer to the man's question after just a short while. And it was Dabe's answer that once again detonated the whole audience. After hearing Baymax's sincere speech without any emotion, most of the people present couldn't help but stand up and give him the biggest and warmest applause. After all, although Baymax was created by Killian, Killian was also created by them humans, and the robot they created themselves has such a broad mind and pattern, how could they not cheer for it? And at this time, feeling the applause from the audience, the senior reporter who was asking questions at this moment couldn't help but feel a lot of pressure, but then there was a burst of shame and anger. Everyone agreed with the robot's words, so doesn't it mean that his words are like a clown? Do you plan to rebel against your creator in the future, and will you rebel against humans? So, regardless of the continued applause from the audience, the man asked again. Sir, I don't know why you think so. My creator treats me very well, and I believe that humans will treat me well too. I am very satisfied with my current situation. And my creator wrote 3 laws of robots for me when I was born, which can never be violated. After hearing the man's words, Dabe seemed to be shocked by the madness of the man in front of him, or was surprised that the other party had escaped from a mental hospital and was so mentally abnormal. His logical program really couldn't imagine why a robot would rebel against its creator and against humans, but he still replied. After hearing Dabe's words, the reporter, who felt embarrassed, walked off the stage quickly as if escaping. At this moment, he only felt that he had made a big fool of himself. He could even imagine that in tomorrow's newspaper, his colleagues would write about a clown reporter at the scene who asked funny questions while describing the robot in front of him. But fortunately, he still remembered his mission this time and did not leave directly. In the following content, he didn't have much mind to listen, and could only record the situation at the scene as if completing a task. Well, I believe that based on the intuitive feelings of the dozen or so friends on the scene just now, everyone should have seen it on side or on the big screen. I can also solemnly say here that Dabe, as our startup benchmark personal health consultant robot, not only has the function of health check for everyone. At the same time, it also has a quad-core processor. And this small piece is Dabe's medical processing chip, which has built in more than 10,000 medical solutions. It can be said that as long as Dabe is there, your safety is greatly guaranteed. Of course, our company also accepts private customization. If you need a health consultant, a family chef, and a professional private customization stylist, we can show you perfectly. Pioneer Technology, a conscientious enterprise committed to becoming a technological pioneer and a conscientious enterprise that seeks the welfare of the country and even the people of the world. And I solemnly promise here that in the future sales, for every 10 Dabe sold, 1 will be donated unconditionally to hospitals and institutions around the world until all are available. With the end of the interactive session, Killian once again came to the main podium from the side stands and spoke to the people present with those powerful words. As soon as Killian finished speaking, waves of applause rang out again. No one took the lead, and everyone applauded spontaneously. You know, if this thing still needs to be purchased, then forget it. But at this moment, the founder of Pioneer Technology, who was also the founder of Dabe, who was standing on the podium, promised in public that as long as it was sold, each of them would enjoy the service of Dabe one day in the future. At this moment, if the location did not allow it, they would even want to call their relatives and friends to come to the scene to cheer. And at the scene, they did take action. A small number of people used their unique newly born color smartphones to post the video photos of the scene and some descriptions they added on the internet. Chapter 12: The 3 Laws of Robotics. In just a few days, it spread all over the world like a virus, but these are all things of the past. Killian, who was originally planning to attend the product launch conference, saw a familiar old man raising his hand, signaled everyone to be quiet, and then pointed at the other person, indicating him to ask a question. Hello, I would like to ask, if I heard it correctly, the personal health consultant named Dabe said this, right? I heard him mention the 3 laws of robotics when he asked whether robots would resist. Can I ask what they are? The man who was called at this time, Jameson, who came alone, stood up and asked. That's a very good question. The 3 laws of robotics will also be the iron laws that our company must follow when it comes to the mass market of robot products. I originally wanted to mention this in the subsequent company introduction, but since this reporter asked today, I'll explain it to you again. The so-called 3 laws of robotics are: first, robots may not harm humans or make decisions for humans. Second, robots must obey human orders unless they violate the first law. Third, robots must protect themselves unless they violate the first or second law. After thinking that there seemed to be no Asimov in this world, Killian continued to explain. But think about it, if Asimov's advice really came before, at least when creating Ultron, Tony would not have given him a simple rule to protect humans. After calculations, anyone with a little bit of intelligence knows that if humans continue to behave like they do now, the Third World War will definitely return to the Stone Age. This means that no matter what, Ultron cannot protect humans, because human desires and disputes, struggles, and wars are inevitable. So Ultron just broke the jar and killed all humans, which can be regarded as an alternative protection. After all, if there are no people, then it is not protection forever. So the rebellion began. Tony's failure was that he did not give Ultron a complete defense. No matter if he evolved into artificial intelligence or mechanical life, the 3 iron laws are engraved in his bones, as indispensable as the brain, and can never be violated. The reason why Killian added the rule that he cannot interfere with the choice of humans is that he thought of the giant of light next door. Leave the choice of humans to humans, and robots will only provide assistance and suggestions in this process. If one day robots become mechanical life, humans will not need robots. In order to protect themselves, they can also go to deep space to develop themselves. Of course, these are too early for Killian. On the other side, after hearing the answer given by Killian, Jameson's pupils shrank. He originally thought that this should be a new news, but he didn't expect it to be so big. Today, when robots have just begun to develop, many companies are also researching robots, and they are still studying how robots walk. Killian has actually started to study the 3 major rules of robots. Although he was reluctant to admit it at this moment, he had to say that this was the pattern. Excuse me, I have finished asking questions. Jameson put down the microphone in his hand and sat down after saying this. Okay, everyone, I believe that everyone has a good understanding of our robot friend Baymax today. Then I hereby announce that from today, Pioneer Technologies will officially start selling Baymax, a private health consultant. The entry-level model, which is the one next to me, only costs $1 million. Of course, I suggest that you can buy it in the form of a family, a building, or a community street, because Baymax can fully meet the normal real-time monitoring of the health of a community resident. And the customized model starts at $5 million. We will customize a brand new private consultant for you. You can choose to do laundry, cooking, seeing a doctor, doing odd jobs, and repairing home appliances. As Jameson sat down, Killian entered the final stage of this press conference, the pricing of Baymax. After Killian's announcement, the scene suddenly became hot. Perhaps $1 million is already a sky-high price for most people, but you have to know that in Killian's suggestion, it is possible to compete, that is, dozens or hundreds of people buy Baymax at the same time, and at most only need a mere $10,000 or $20,000 to own a medical robot. In the minds of many people, this is something that they dare not even think about. And now it has become true. For a moment, everyone wanted to leave here immediately, run to Pioneer Technology Company to place an order, and quickly order a Baymax of their own. However, it is not just that. With more and more news media helicopters arriving at the scene, there are already 4 or 5 helicopters in the sky broadcasting the images announced by Killian. Although they did not watch it from beginning to end, they watched most of the questions asked by the reporters about Baymax, and just like this, many rich people could not help but ask their secretaries and assistants to start placing orders. Maybe they might be cheated, but even if Baymax has the functions advertised, it is worth the money for them. And it is not just that. Many companies that develop robots want to buy dozens or hundreds of them at a time, dismantle them and study the internal structure of Baymax carefully. In the midst of the crowd's discussion, Killian was about to announce the final climax, but a policeman with an American flag on his shoulder came towards him from the crowd. "Hello, sir, I'm the chief of police from the NYPD, and I'm here to stabilize the order at the scene. Sorry, I may have to terminate your press conference. There are too many people at the scene, and some places have already experienced small-scale riots. If this continues, there will be a huge safety accident. I hope you can cooperate." The visitor showed his ID and said to Killian politely. After all, they did their homework when they came here. Although the person in front of them is only the CEO of a small company, the so-called medical robot, the thinking mode that is almost human, and the extremely powerful functions all made him deeply aware that the person in front of him is already standing on the vent and will take off at any time. Chapter 13 Exchange T-Virus. Their chief explained the stakes to him several times on the way. To be honest, if it weren't for the other party's products that stopped the flow of people in the square, causing no one to move for several hours, and the people outside wanted to squeeze in after hearing the noise on the scene, causing a lot of riots and safety accidents. They really didn't want to get involved in this muddy water. Unlike some individual countries, companies in the United States can really influence the government. Not to mention that the other party is a unicorn company now. He can even imagine that at this moment, there are all kinds of large companies or military and government leaders who are extending olive branches to the other party through various methods. So for this host, the sheriff still gave enough face. After seeing the friendly attitude of the visitor and the crowded scene, Killian also nodded to show his cooperation. Then he picked up the microphone in his hand and explained to the audience on the scene with emotion and reason. The scene that was originally as solid as a rock began to flow gradually. After seeing this scene, the sheriff on the side also subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. You know, there are tens of thousands of people, and if he handles it carelessly, he might be the first to leave the stage. Now that it is finally over, the sheriff also showed a smile on his face. Hello, I am George Stacy. Thank you very much for your cooperation this time. Looking at Killian on the side, Sheriff George stretched out his hand and said friendly. Killian, I am also very happy to meet you, Your Excellency Sheriff. This is my business card. I hope we will have the opportunity to cooperate in the future. Looking at the man in front of him, Killian finally remembered the other party, the future father-in-law of Spider-Man, the director of the New York General Police Department. It's a pity that it's too early now, and he is still just a sheriff. However, according to the time, he should indeed sit in that position in 10 years. Thinking of this, Killian handed the business card in his arms to the other party. It can be regarded as a good relationship in advance. George is still just a sheriff now, which is not of much help to him. After receiving the business card, George did not chat too much, but turned back to maintain order with his men. You know, in order to ensure that there would be no chaos here, hundreds of police officers from several surrounding police stations were transferred here. Even Killian, who was standing on the stage, could feel that some of these police officers were probably on vacation and were forced to work overtime. After all, Killian saw deep resentment in their eyes. The next day. With the rising of the morning sun. At this moment, after waking up, Killian couldn't wait to immerse his consciousness in his mind. The dark technology system of the universe. Host, Aldrochi Killian. Reputation. 5336. Technology Mall. Level 1. 6336. 10,000. Technology unlocking progress. None. Unlock technology. Big Hero 6 Baymax. Primary version. Completion 100%. In just one night, Baymax's influence has increased his reputation by nearly 5,000. If time continues, Killian believes that it will take less than a week to unlock the level 2 mall again. Of course, for Killian, these are secondary. Now he needs the T-Virus, not only for its therapeutic effects, but also to use it to strengthen his body. He does not expect to become a superhuman like Alice who can affect space satellites with his mind, as long as he can have a fast recovery and a healthy body. Now his body has been resting for a long time since he came out of the laboratory last time. There is no way. Killian used to focus too much on research, and he is also a sports waste, and his body has been in a sub-healthy state for a long time. Even if he wanted to change now, it would be impossible without long-term exercise and diet adjustment. And he couldn't take out all his time to exercise. After all, this was the early stage of entrepreneurship, and he had to do a lot of things. So the only way was to rely on the strengthening of the T-Virus. Then without thinking, Killian directly spent 1,000 reputations to exchange for the information of the T-Virus. The next second, Killian only felt that his mind had a series of knowledge about the cultivation and manufacture of the T-Virus. Ding! It is detected that the T-Virus concentrate cannot be extracted in the real world. It has been put on the store and the exchange rights have been unlocked. After Killian came to his senses, the system immediately sounded. And once again, following the system's reminder, Killian also opened the option of biological finished products in the technology exchange project, and the important core material of the T-virus concentrate, the sun ladder flower, was at the top of it. Seeing the sun ladder flower in front of him, Killian instantly understood. This is the beginning of everything in the world of Resident Evil. The sun stairs is an ancient chrysanthemum flower species, which contains the progenitor virus that can strengthen any organism. However, only those who can adapt to the progenitor virus can be strengthened, and those who cannot adapt will die from the virus. The cultivation of the sun stairs is also very simple. You only need to find a culture dish and wait for it. It matures in March. It can be said that as long as there is a strain, he will have endless raw materials for the virus. The role of the sun stairs is not only to cultivate the T-virus, but even the powerful viruses such as the C-virus, E-virus, G-virus, and T-Veronica virus in the world of Resident Evil are evolved based on it. It's just a pity that these are all gray at present. It is obvious that the system wants him to focus on the current project every time he develops. Killian understands the principle of biting off more than he can chew. If you only want to be strong and change everything, you can only destroy the Great Wall in the end. Of course, it is also possible that you have to wait for the upgrade before you can unlock it, but this is too early for Killian. After looking at the original solution of the T-virus, it only costs 500 reputation points, which is not very expensive. Killian exchanged it directly. Exchange successful, reputation remaining 3,836 feet. After exchanging the information of the T-virus series, Killian felt overwhelmed at this moment. After all, judging from the information he received, now he only has information related to the T-virus in his mind. If you were to type it out on the computer, he would probably have to go without food or drink for a month. And he was typing it out according to the original text. You have to know that in the original plot, the manpower, material resources and time invested by the Umbrella Company for the T-virus were extremely terrifying. A rough estimate is that there was only 40 years in total, and even if he used the ready-made information now, it would take a long time to replicate it. Chapter 14: Urgent Need for Manpower. It seems that I need to find someone to help me. After rubbing his brow, Killian couldn't help but think in his mind. In fact, it is true. With the release of Baymax, the technology he will unlock in the future will increase exponentially, and he can't operate every one of them by himself, so it is necessary to have sufficiently advanced scientists to help him. For a moment, Killian couldn't help but start thinking about which celebrities in the Marvel Universe he could use. And it must be in the field of biology, plus the T-virus experiment can be sure to be very bloody, so it must be accepted by people with high moral integrity. But if these are added, Killian's choices will be much less in an instant. After thinking for a long time, the next moment, a character appeared in Killian's mind, Samuel Stern, the creator of Abomination, and a mad scientist who is both a genius and a madman. And he has devoted his life to researching new discoveries that can be groundbreaking, but unfortunately, he has no similar opportunity. It is also because of this that in the original book, when Hulk found him, he helped Banner unconditionally regardless of everything, because he wanted to become famous with Hulk's serum. But he was pushed down by the Abomination, and after a wound on his head, the diluted serum of the Hulk dripped into it, and then he became a superhuman big head and was imprisoned by SHIELD. This person is not bad by nature, his bottom line is not high, he has no so-called moral addiction, he only wants to become famous, and most importantly, he is a genius. If all these are added together, for Killian, he is the best tool. So after making up his mind, Killian drove towards the company with a portable sunflower. After arriving at the company, Killian first carefully blocked the ladder of the sun in the innermost research room in the basement, and then locked the door. Killian then summoned all the researchers who were in the research room. And with Killian's order issued, those researchers who were still studying the next component upgrade of Dabe also put down their work. Then, with happy smiles, they came to the meeting room one after another. After all, for them, they had already watched the boss's highlight debut in Times Square yesterday, so everyone felt that they would definitely talk about bonuses today. With such emotions, in a short while, the underground meeting room was filled with more than 20 researchers of all sizes. And Killian looked at the people in front of him. This was all his team so far. Although the number was small, he believed that sooner or later, he would expand to establish branches by region. Well, the reason why I notified everyone to come to the meeting today is mainly for two reasons. First, I believe everyone should know that the launch of Dabe was a complete success yesterday. More than a dozen units were sold on the same day, with sales of more than 10 million. And all this is of course inseparable from everyone's efforts. So, in order to reward everyone, I decided to use all of yesterday's sales, not counting the cost, as project bonuses for everyone, and starting from today, every year after that, I will take out 1% of the annual sales profit as an additional bonus for everyone present. After hearing Killian's encouragement, everyone present immediately clapped their hands with red faces. You have to know that yesterday's sales were more than 10 million, and all of them were their bonuses. There are only a few people, less than 30 people, and each person has an average of $300,000. And the most terrifying thing is that the boss promised that they would be paid 1% of the profits every year after that. You have to know that if you calculate the pure manufacturing cost of Dabe, it may not be even 1/10, and even if you calculate it according to yesterday, the profit for one day is equivalent to 10 million. Then 1 year, 10 million times 365 days. Oh my god, they couldn't believe it. Every year, there was a bonus of 1.2 million for the Dabe project alone. At this moment, let alone some companies have contacted them privately, even if they didn't contact them, they wouldn't have any idea. Under Killian's operation, the researchers of the entire project department reached an unprecedented level of unity. For a moment, the entire conference room suddenly became lively. Okay, let me announce the second piece of news next. I have another big project on hand, but this is our company's current top secret project. We will sign a lifelong confidentiality contract, and after this meeting, everyone can choose whether to participate according to their own wishes. Here, what I want to say is that this project is several times, even dozens or hundreds of times, bigger than the Dabe project. I will invest huge sums of money, and if the project is successful, you will also receive an inexhaustible supply of money. But, this is a highly confidential project. As long as you choose to participate, you cannot have any contact with the outside world, including your family, for at least 10 years. The only way you can communicate is through company letters. Of course the money will be deposited into your own card, and on this basis, if you are willing to join this project, each person will receive a settlement allowance of $1 million, and it's up to you to choose whether to give it to your family or keep it for yourself. Of course, even if you don't sign, it doesn't matter. The company will still use you. After all, the Dabe project also needs someone to be responsible, and I can't possibly need so many people. After finishing his words, Killian looked at everyone at the scene calmly. As he expected, almost everyone looked at him with red eyes at this moment. If it were another occasion, he would even suspect that he would be beaten up by them in a minute. Then, under the nuclear attack of Killian's money offensive, almost everyone at the scene signed up directly. As for Killian, he could officially start the research and development of the T-virus after selecting and screening. But before that, he still needed to get the laboratory done. The early development of the T-virus might be carried out here, but the subsequent biological live experiment stage would definitely not be carried out here. He must have his own laboratory. So with a list, Killian returned to his office. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Laboratory Site Selection. At this time, the secretary Lisa also walked in with a look that was visible to the naked eye. Boss, this is the number of Baymax we have sold and pre-ordered as of now, a total of 132 units. And this is when our company has no sales, and we actively contacted those potential customers. Otherwise, according to my estimate, the number can at least double. Boss, I think if we evaluate the greatest genius scientist now, it must be you. After handing the sales report and transaction report in her hand to Killian for review, Lisa took the initiative to stand sideways to the side of the desk and spoke softly, and at the end of the speech, the admiration in her heart was written on her face. You know, that is a medical robot. God knows how long she was stunned when she first came into close contact with the thing. It was incredible. Ha ha ha, Lisa, even if you flatter me, I won't give you a raise. After hearing the secretary's flattery, Killian couldn't help but smile and then spoke. By the way, how is the progress of our own engineering building? After joking for a while, Killian returned to a serious look. I just got in touch with the government, and they have agreed to our planned land use. According to your requirements, the total area is 3 million square meters, and the land price is $5 per square meter, which requires a total of 15 million dollars. If we pay it all at once, the government will give it to us at a low price of 12 million. Well, that's good, just pay it all at once. Money is just a number to me. What I want is to be as soon as possible, understand? After hearing Lisa's report, Killian nodded and said affirmatively. In fact, it was because the address they chose was not too far away from the city. Otherwise, if they really wanted to buy some remote places, they would even sell 4,000 square meters for a few $100s, and they were afraid that they would not be able to sell it. You know, the biggest feature of the old American site is that the land is vast and sparsely populated. To what extent, they have auctioned the land for permanent use, but even so, in recent decades, the United States still has a lot of land that has not been sold. There is no way. Humans are social creatures. Even if you are cheap, living in the mountains and isolated from the world is not in line with human biological attributes, so everyone has gone to big cities, and no one has even looked at the land in remote areas. And now it is the same. After learning that Killian, this big bastard, wants to buy such a large piece of land, the local government is simply delighted. The process that usually takes several months to complete was completed in just 1 week, fearing that if it takes longer, Killian, this big bastard, will regret it. Of course, Killian knows clearly that even if he invests in real estate, he will always make money in Miami. Because in a few years, as New York is repeatedly provoked as the center of the universe, a large number of people will inevitably be distributed to other states, and Miami is the most effective. Of course, these have nothing to do with him. If he is really interested in real estate, he will not make a small move in this place in the United States. With his current wealth, running to the east, wouldn't it be easy to win trillions? Okay, and I have already started the handover with Stark Construction Group. According to your request, their final offer is $8 million, and it will take a year. Then there is a biological laboratory on a small island next to Surrett's Carlton Biscayne Island. It is now on the verge of bankruptcy due to funding problems. Now its person in charge is contacting buyers. I have inspected it and it really meets your requirements. And the most important thing is privacy and security. The entire island is surrounded by the sea, and there is only a nearly 100-meter bridge leading to the outside world. If you, boss, are in urgent need of a laboratory, I suggest this is the first choice. There are several other alternative laboratories, and I have also organized them into files attached to the bottom file. After handing over the first thing, Lisa followed the boss again. After taking the top file aside, she unfolded the bottom file and reported and explained it bit by bit while looking at the information and pictures inside. After looking at the information prepared by Lisa page by page, Killian couldn't help but feel really satisfied in his heart. Basically, every site selection and plan was in accordance with his expectations. And even some simple reports at the beginning clearly reflected the detailed data, from production to sales, and all the expenses in between. Well done. To be honest, if the information is true, I really don't know how to reward you, Lisa. Looking at Lisa in front of him, Killian was more and more satisfied. After closing the plan in front of him, Killian leaned back in the boss chair and said with his hands crossed, "So, boss, are you giving me a choice?" Seeing the sudden words of the boss in front of her, Lisa couldn't help but smile in her heart, and then said with a curled mouth, "Maybe." Killian just shrugged his shoulders and didn't explain anything to Lisa. "I think I can do a lot of work with my current ability. And I have advantages that no one else has." After hearing Killian's words, although Lisa didn't know what the other party meant, she decided to seize this opportunity. So Lisa took a deep breath and said to Killian with an extremely determined look, "Oh. Most of the things in the company are conveyed to me by you, boss, and then I coordinate and take charge of them. Although I don't have the glamorous resume of professional managers outside, I can say that in AIM technology, I can directly get started and perfectly take over most positions, even the position of director. In addition, I have been with you for so long, and I can fully meet your requirements from top to bottom." Facing Killian's questions, Lisa continued to speak, and she became more and more confident as she spoke. "It seems that I may have no reason to refuse you. Okay, I'll give you a few tasks. First, help me find a secretary to take over your shift. Second, from today on, You will be responsible for following up the progress of the Pioneer Technology Park. Third, to reorganize the company, I need to clearly divide the job levels from top to bottom, and you are responsible for giving me a clear plan. Chapter 16 R&D Talent. Fourth, help me find a person, Samuel Stern, a PhD in biology, near which university? Find him and report to me. Then, from today on, you will be the company's senior manager, mainly responsible for administration and marketing. Didn't you say before that if Dabe's sales had a dedicated development marketing, the performance would at least double? Then it's time to test your ability now. As for the director you want, it depends on your performance. Of course, if the final result is not good, you may not even have your current position. What do you think? Do you want to back off? After all, you still have a way out at the moment, and I won't care about it. After hearing Lisa's answer, Killian chuckled and looked at her and continued. As for Lisa, he was willing to give her a chance, and although the company was not large at present, he also needed a dedicated person to be responsible for many things. And if he recruited from outside now, to be honest, he was not at ease. Then internal promotion was the best solution, and Lisa did have the ability. Anyway, he has built a platform for the other party. As for the result, it depends on the other party. If it really doesn't work, he will recruit people from outside even if he is worried. Boss, if you know me, you will know that there is no word no in my dictionary. Just wait for me to submit a satisfactory answer to you. Lisa didn't even think about giving up what Killian said. How many chances can a person have in his life? And she knew deeply that with her experience, if she didn't seize the opportunity before the company's scale expanded, it can be said that any other company of the same level, even a smaller one, would not give her such a newcomer. After saying that, Lisa turned and walked out. As the office door closed again, Killian looked at the documents in front of him and laughed and cried. This was the first time he saw his secretary being so vigorous. But in this way, Killian couldn't help but have a little more expectation for the other party. But not long after, Killian began to devote himself to the next step of work. Dabe's production line, the cooperation with the source manufacturer, and various documents all needed his signature. At this moment, he only hated that he didn't have any management talents around him, otherwise he wouldn't have to worry about these things. When Killian came to his senses again, a whole morning had passed. During this time, Lisa seemed to be handing over all the things in her hands. Killian only saw that she kept taking out documents from the drawer outside and signing them. After finally finishing writing, looking at the documents that had piled up like a small mountain in front of him, he estimated that he would not have to run to the office for a long time in the future. After finally finishing all the things, Killian also waited for Lisa's news. Boss, I have found the Dr. Samuel Stern you mentioned. He is a doctor in the Department of Biological Cells of Glebe College in New York. He has been trying to tackle the direction of human cell development. And there are many related works. Do you need me to contact him for you? Lisa put the personal information of Samuel Stern that she had sorted out in front of Killian and asked. Okay, please help me make an appointment, the sooner the better. Killian said after hearing Lisa's words. Of course, no problem. Coincidentally, I have a classmate who happens to be in Gebang College. I have already asked him and he is free all day today. The flight is in an hour, so you can meet in the afternoon. After hearing Killian's words, Lisa continued with a smile as if bathed in spring breeze. Oh, by the way, boss, although it may not be appropriate to say it now, I personally suggest that you still have to equip bodyguards. After saying that, Lisa suddenly remembered something and said immediately. Bodyguard. Okay, you go and arrange it first. After hearing Lisa's reminder, Killian suddenly remembered that this world seemed to be restless. The comfort during this period of time has lowered his vigilance. Then he waved his hand to signal Lisa to arrange it. Seeing that the other party had walked out of the office door. At this time, Killian also immersed his consciousness in the depths of his mind. If he remembered correctly, there was a guard option in the system. And sure enough, after entering the system interface, the branches of guards were displayed. There were all kinds of guards inside. But most of them are gray and have no permission to unlock. Even Killian saw the familiar Tenno warriors in Warframe and the Colossus in StarCraft. Can this thing be used as a guard? And there are also Protoss angels. Of course, these are too far away from him. At present, what he can exchange is American soldiers, self-destructing soldiers and ordinary soldier squads. But even so, the price is very expensive. Only a 7-man squad requires 1,000 reputation. Such a price can even allow him to unlock other high-tech drawings. Just a glance, Killian has no desire to exchange. But after accidentally looking at several squads beside him, Killian suddenly became interested again. The first one is UBX, which is the special forces of the umbrella company used to deal with biochemical crisis emergencies. The whole team has a total of 120 people, which are divided into 4 detachments, and each detachment has 5 squads. It is worth mentioning that at the beginning of the movie version of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2, the 2 troops that appeared were both its detachments. Judging from the performance in the film and television alone, its performance and professionalism can be said to be extremely high. And next to it are the 2 special forces of USS and USF in the Resident Evil world, and the prices are the same, only 3,000 reputation can be exchanged. But Killian doesn't think much of these. He is most optimistic about the Black Watch from the game prototype. The members of its team can be said to be the most elite troops in the world. Because it was established to contain the virus, the training quality of the members in it is also extremely strict, and the usual training mortality rate is also particularly high. Black Watch has extremely high requirements for every soldier. Under such high pressure and high standards, it can be said that if the Black Watch team was sent in Resident Evil 1, there would be no subsequent events. Even in the second movie, the virus swept the entire city, and only a 100-man Black Watch team was arranged to come over, and it was still controlled to death. There is absolutely no possibility of any virus leaking out. Chapter 17 Tony's Shock. It can be said that if it is just a special force for ordinary soldiers, then the Black Watch soldiers are definitely the top troops in this range. Not to mention the super soldier team that can rival the power of the protagonist. And such a team only needs 5,000 reputation. Compared with the previous teams, it is worth it. But the only problem is that it needs to unlock the pre-technology, the cloning and cultivation device, which costs about 1,000. And Killian looked at the Black Watch team in front of him and couldn't help but turn to another option, the genetic map. After screening for a while, the genetic map of the Black Watch team immediately appeared in front of him, and the price was 20,000 reputation points. After seeing this scene, even Killian, who already felt that he had some property, couldn't help but take a breath. He really can only say that it is worthy of being a system, and it is definitely famous for its emphasis on racial genetic privacy. But the only thing that made him feel relieved was that in the genetic map, the system has the genetic maps of all members of the Black Watch team, and it also comes with combat memory. It can be said that as long as he trains them through the cloning device, they don't need to get used to it, and can be put into battle directly. And the most important thing is that the cost of clones is almost equal to 0 compared to the Terminators that all need high-strength metal. For a while, after seeing this, Killian's restless heart beat again. Under the premise that the Terminator cannot be born at present, can't a Black Watch be his trump card force? Not only can it protect his own safety, but it can also guard the company and the T-Virus project that will be developed later. Although he has learned lessons and made sufficient precautions, he does not believe that there is an absolutely safe place in the world. Therefore, a strong security force is necessary. As a result, another item appeared on Killian's reservation list. But at this moment, looking at his reputation that has just risen to 4,000, Killian can't help but feel helpless. This is really spending money like water, and earning is not spending fast. He originally thought that relying on Baymax, he could sit back and relax and unlock his high-tech safely. In this way, it seems that it is not enough at all. For a moment, the pressure from time appeared in Killian's heart again. But now the most important thing is to deal with Samuel first. So after throwing away the things in his hands, Killian went to the airport alone and boarded the plane to New York. On the other side. Strange, how is the intelligence program of this thing written? The intelligence level is so high. In a beach villa in Los Angeles, Tony Stark at this moment was surprised by the wisdom of Baymax after testing all the functions of Baymax. Although Baymax's conversation skills are not high and there are many unconventional knowledge he doesn't know, his automatic learning ability and intelligence are what he has never seen before. Even Jarvis, who he is studying now, is not even 1/10 of the intelligence of Baymax in front of him. According to his calculations, the intelligent chip inside this Baymax is at least 10 or even 20 years ahead of the world's science. Killian, it's interesting. When Tony thought that there was a high-tech genius besides himself, he couldn't help but reveal a hint of interest at the corner of his mouth. He wanted to see who was more talented. So after putting Baymax back, Tony returned to his workstation and began to input logic code into the computer bit by bit. He wanted to upgrade Jarvis again. Baymax gave him a good inspiration. As long as he learned by himself and fed with data from the internet, he believed that with his wisdom, he could catch up with the research and development progress of pioneer technology in 2 to 3 years. That's right, in Tony's cognition, it is absolutely impossible for a company to come up with black technology like Baymax without decades of research and development. Because artificial intelligence, let alone data feeding, just talking about the underlying logical architecture, its huge amount of data is not a matter of a day or night. It can be said that if we calculate the research and development progress of artificial intelligence every month according to the current major scientific research teams, it can be compared to a monthly 1G process, then on this basis, artificial intelligence is 1 terabyte, equivalent to 1024 gigabytes, which means it will take more than 500 years. Of course, if the technology explodes again, it may shorten the time by more than half. But even so, it is far beyond the current technology. Therefore, he could not help but feel a little curious about AIM technology, that is, the guy named Killian. After all, it is rare to find such a smart guy who makes him feel a little pressure. However, these thoughts were thrown out as Tony studied in depth. Just like he couldn't even remember what he had eaten an hour ago, it was not that he couldn't, but he would not waste even a little bit of brain capacity on these insignificant things. Unlike the harmony on Tony Stark's side, in a confidential research room in the United States. At this moment, Baymax looked at a bunch of companions around him who were coveting him with shining eyes and the parts that had been disassembled beside him, and the whole machine felt bad. According to the first robot code of Pioneer Technology, the Baymax series of robots are personal health consultants developed for medical services. Please do not engage in acts of sabotage, intentional destruction, or attempt to study confidential information. Otherwise, once discovered, the purchaser and related companies will be permanently blacklisted and deprived of their permanent qualification to purchase products from Pioneer Technology. After seeing these people violently dismantling him, Baymax continued to repeat the words that had been repeated by his predecessors. It seems that the intelligence level of this so-called epic-making robot is not very high. How many of them are there? Still this boring warning. After hearing Baymax's warning, a man with gold-rimmed glasses behind several researchers in white coats not far away couldn't help but complain as if he was fed up. Modius, you are just tired because you have been watching for a day. If he is really not very intelligent, would we still gather here? Another middle-aged man next to him said with a gentleman's smile, holding a red wine glass. If there are people related to medicine here, they will be surprised to find that several giants in the American medical field are gathered here. Chapter 18. External Reactions. The main purpose is to solve the mystery of artificial intelligence in Dabe. Although Pioneer Technology claims that Dabe has not yet reached the level of artificial intelligence, for them, this robot that can talk freely, how can it not be a robot? It has only been a few years, and this robot has just been born. If the robot is given a few more years, wouldn't it deserve its name? And they saw a threat to their own industry and Dabe. Yes, their companies have a common feature, that is, they specialize in the export of large medical equipment, such as CT, MRI, angiography, ultrasound electrocardiogram, etc., which are common in major hospitals. It can be said that 90% of the top-grade medical equipment in hospitals are imported from them. Every year, each company has tens of billions of dollars or even more in revenue from equipment and its licensing fees. And now the scanning examinations that they rely on for their livelihood have been robbed by a medical robot. How can they not be angry? So, after discussion, several companies, led by Modius, began to secretly try to solve the mystery of the so-called medical robot. And if they can replicate it, it would be even better. For this reason, they have spent a lot of money to hire many top scientists in the industry, plus their own high-tech talents, all gathered here. Everything is for Dabe's medical scanning technology. Because there is nothing else, only those who have worked in the medical field know how powerful the technology is that Dabe can detect physical diseases with just one scan. For them, artificial intelligence is a byproduct, but it would be even better if this thing can be cracked together. But what disappointed them was that every time the outer layer of Dabe broke, once it detected a violent crack, it would start the self-destruction program. Even if they opened the outer layer, what was left for them was only a burnt chip and a pile of broken copper and iron. What should we do now? At this rate, I don't think it will be possible to crack it in 10 or 8 years. A woman with long golden hair on the other side looked at the researchers in front of them who had made no progress and destroyed several samples, and couldn't help but ask. Give them some time to try to crack it. If it doesn't work, we can only talk to Pioneer Technology. The middle-aged man Alex also spoke up in response to the woman's words. There is no other way. If they don't find a way to cooperate, then Dabe will sooner or later replace all their current medical equipment. And that means that all of them will lose hundreds of billions, or even trillions of dollars every year. The loss is absolutely unacceptable to them. Not to mention that they have now opened up the market in the East, and its potential is even more terrifying. What if that person disagrees? At this time, Modis also came over and picked up the red wine glass, and said with a playful look on his face. Oh, don't want to. Then spend tens of billions, hundreds of billions. I don't believe that he can still disagree with so much money, and the size of our companies is there. If he is smart, he will know what to choose. Even if I were him, I would accept our capital injection and control, and then honestly take hundreds of billions to continue to develop technology, or live a rich life in advance. Isn't that good? The blonde woman also spoke up. You can't make all the money, but if someone wants to make all the money by himself, then my suggestion is that they should go to Satan for better development. After the woman finished speaking, another man with a big belly came out and said with a smirk. As the man finished speaking, the people present seemed to have a telepathic connection. After looking at each other for a moment, they burst into laughter. At this moment, all over the world, the same scene as the representatives of pharmaceutical companies was being staged in different ways. The only difference was the attitude towards Pioneer Technology. On the other side, time passed, and a few hours later, Killian had already come out of the New York airport and headed straight for his destination, Gebang College. After a while, Killian had already arrived at the school gate. At this time, after knowing that the CEO of Pioneer Technology, who had been in the limelight these 2 days, was coming, Samuel was already waiting at the school gate with Lisa's classmates. Hello, Dr. Samuel Stern. I'm sorry to bother you by visiting me unexpectedly. After seeing him, Killian also stepped forward, stretched out his right hand and shook his hand and said, No, I should thank you, Mr. Killian, for your presence. By the way, this is not the place to talk. Please come to the cafe next to me to talk. After seeing Killian in front of him so easy to talk, Samuel also spoke humbly. To be honest, his current situation in school is a bit embarrassing. In addition to having some knowledge that he is proud of to teach students relevant knowledge, many of his research is either too niche for investors to understand, or has no commercial value. No one is willing to invest in his research. This also leads to the fact that if he wants to continue his research, he has to invest money himself in addition to the meager subsidies from the college. But he is just a scientific researcher. To put it bluntly, from birth to graduation, and now working, he has been in school, which means that he has no other source of income. So he basically doesn't even have a home, but lives directly in school, and even lives directly in the laboratory most of the time. And today, after learning from his students that the founder of the pioneering technology Dabe medical robot that caused a sensation in New York yesterday wanted to meet him, he rarely changed his appearance for half a month, just to welcome the upcoming opportunity. Yes, although he has little contact with society, it does not mean that he is a fool. Before this, he can be very sure that the two of them have no connection, even in terms of money. And now the other party found him, it is nothing more than because of his professional ability. So, he had prepared all his research topics long before this, just so that when Killian asked, he could give him sufficient explanations and information. Of course, Killian didn't know about these. Chapter 19 Dr. Samuel Stern. Seeing the other party's excited look, even Killian was wondering if Lisa had revealed her intention to recruit the other party. No need, Dr. Samuel, let's go to your laboratory to talk. It just happens that the scene is suitable for what we are about to talk about, right? Okay, of course, no problem. My laboratory is just a few hundred meters away. Mr. Killian, I can say without exaggeration that the Gebang Institute attaches great importance to my research. For this reason, it has not hesitated to give me a whole independent laboratory for free use. So, no matter what you want to do, you can be absolutely assured. After hearing Killian's words, Samuel just thought that the other party wanted to see his research results and working environment, So he immediately walked to the front to lead the way, and then introduced his own achievements. Then before the two arrived at Samuel's laboratory, Killian only heard the other party's constant self-boasting. It must be said that although this guy is quite powerful, his mouth is indeed very broken. At least Killian feels that with the other party's skills, he can even compete with the little spider or the little bastard next door, and I believe they will become good friends. Okay, Mr. Samuel, I came here mainly for one thing. That's you. After arriving at the other party's laboratory, Killian sat on a chair, and then looked at Dr. Samuel in front of him, who was a little out of breath because of talking non-stop, and began to speak directly. Me. Mr. Killian, although you are optimistic about me, I should be very happy, but as a man, I cannot accept your confession of such special feelings for me. Oh, I don't mean anything else, I just want to say that although in this society, you can choose to fall in love freely, I don't discriminate, and even support it, but I actually already have a lover, so. After hearing Killian's words, Samuel was stunned at first, then looked at the other party, and then looked at himself, and the whole person suddenly stood there awkwardly, and then hurriedly spoke. At first, he only knew that the other party came to invest in his project, but no one told him that he had to sell himself. For a while, Samuel was a little bit crying without tears, and even for a moment he was thinking about whether to give in. After all, it would be over if you just grit your teeth and hold on, and what you get is a solid investment. But the next second, with Killian's words, he dispelled this idea. Dr. Samuel, I think you may have misunderstood. What I mean is that this time I came to recruit you. Before this, I have paid attention to your research in biology. To be honest, I have read all your papers and courseware and benefited a lot from them. I can only say that you are worthy of being a famous doctor. And now our company happens to have a very important human research project, which requires a top scientist in the biology department to lead the team. So I thought of you. At this moment, looking at Samuel's shy look, Killian resisted the urge to kill him and began to explain word by word. Me. Human research project. For some reason, when Samuel heard that the other party did not need to pay an extra price, he felt a little disappointed in addition to being relieved. However, after hearing what Killian said about the human project, Samuel suddenly became energetic and asked curiously. Yes, human research project. Our company has discovered a rare thing that can help people break through their own shackles and strengthen their bodies in all directions. It's just that it is too unstable, and our company's current research team alone cannot fully develop this project. So I thought of you, Dr. Samuel Stern. If you are willing, you will become the general manager of our pioneer technology and biological project. For your research, my company and I will unconditionally support you, and you can be fully responsible for the research issues of the project. After the project is over, you can choose any project you want to develop and research. And I dare to assure you here that this research project is absolutely something you have never seen before and has a huge impact. If it succeeds, it will even change the lives of all mankind. If it really succeeds, then you will be the living Nobel, believe me. Looking at Samuel in front of him, Killian stood up while speaking. His tone was like the whisper of a devil, and he said to Samuel in a seductive way. At this moment, Killian even felt a little overwhelmed by Killian's words and the huge pie he had drawn. He couldn't imagine how powerful the human research project that could affect all of humanity was. Especially Killian's last sentence, it was even more fatal to him. For a living Nobel, what a high achievement this must be. The last person to have such an achievement in the Department of Biology was Dr. Erkins. The super soldier serum he studied, even now, has countless scientific research teams and superpowers wanting to replicate it. But even in the past few decades, no force has been able to succeed, and this is the ability of that person. You mean, super soldier serum? At this time, after thinking of Dr. Erkins, looking at Killian in front of him, Samuel Stern couldn't help but open his eyes and said, almost, but, believe me, its influence far exceeds it, and the final result will definitely not disappoint you. Even now. After hearing Samuel's answer, Killian raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and then spoke. But before he could finish, he was interrupted by Samuel Stern's hand. No need to say, if you didn't lie to me, then I'll do this project. At this time, Samuel was completely unable to resist Killian's solicitation. He knew that the other party had completely grasped his life. Of course, for him, this was voluntary. It is not easy to become famous in one's own field and leave a lasting reputation. Not only does it require abundant financial resources, strong abilities, but also extremely strong luck. Each of these is indispensable. And he also knew that it was basically impossible for him to fulfill his dream of becoming famous in the biological world by himself. So in fact, when Killian first invited him, he was already tempted. Even if Killian did not promise him any benefits, he would be willing to join unconditionally. Chapter 20 Join. Welcome to join us, Dr. Samuel Stern. Believe me, you will never regret your choice today. After hearing Samuel's agreement, Killian stretched out his right hand, shook it, and said with a smile, "So, boss, when should I report?" After shaking hands, Samuel couldn't wait to ask. He couldn't wait to see what Killian said was comparable to or even better than the super soldier serum. He was already imagining how the future biology students would look at him with admiration after he, Samuel Stern, created a human stronger than Captain America. The sooner the better. I have arranged the laboratory here for you. Everything is waiting for you to start the project. After hearing Samuel's words, Killian immediately spoke. On the way to the island laboratory in Miami, he had asked Lisa to find someone to settle it. And now, if everything goes well, when he returns in the evening, the laboratory can be handed over. In order to take over the project as soon as possible, he also spent a lot of money to buy all the equipment in the laboratory. Because it was originally a biological laboratory, many things were universal, and this also avoided a lot of time wasted on purchasing equipment later. Not only that, Killian also had people start developing an underground laboratory on the open space next to the laboratory. He wanted to turn this island into a real large underground laboratory similar to a beehive. Then I think I can go with you now, boss. I'm just a nominal member of the school here. I can stay or go as I please, without any worries, and I can't wait to get into work right away. After hearing Killian's words, Samuel at this moment opened his eyes with excitement and said excitedly, "Okay, let's go to the airport now." After hearing that Samuel could leave immediately, the two hit it off and rushed straight to the airport without taking anything with them. In the evening, as night fell, Killian and Samuel, who landed again, took the company's exclusive car and came to the laboratory on the island. Because the purchase had been completed, the people in the original laboratory had already evacuated, and now there was no one except the company personnel arranged by Lisa to initially organize the laboratory. At this time, after the newly recruited security guard opened the door of the laboratory for them, the two immediately entered the laboratory. At this moment, Samuel looked at the laboratory worth hundreds of millions of dollars in front of him. The luxury of its interior and the high-precision instruments shocked even Samuel, who had seen a lot of the world. Because many of the equipment here are so expensive, at least tens of millions of dollars. Let alone seeing these things, he had only seen them in newspapers. At this moment, feeling these instruments, Samuel was like holding a woman's hand, carefully, gently and full of fascination. Killian, who was watching Samuel's loss of composure at the side, did not disturb him. After all, he was also half a scientist. If the two were swapped, he thought he would be like he is now. After all, for these instruments and equipment, he even spent a lot of money to buy them. Because these equipment are really worth the money. As the two of them went deeper, they soon arrived at the laboratory on the third floor of the underground building. Along the way, the brand new laboratory they saw showed that the original owner must have had some unknown secrets here, so they cleaned it up in time. Even Killian saw that there was not even a hair left on the isolation glass along the way, which made him even more certain. Of course, those who can choose to build a laboratory on such a remote island basically have experiments that cannot be seen in the light. Finally, after arriving at the innermost laboratory, Killian put down the cryogenic suitcase in his hand, and put on their own special chemical protective suits with Samuel, who had caught up. It is worth mentioning that this kind of chemical protective suit can not only prevent the leakage of poisonous gas, but also prevent cuts. It is used to prevent the protective suit from being ruptured and infected when studying viruses. So the kind of laboratory research in the movie, where researchers are infected because of the rupture of protective suits, is basically nonsense. Even if you are really infected, you can't even get out of the laboratory. Because biochemical laboratories like this have layers of security and disinfection. Killian and Samuel had to pass through 3 protective doors and 3 disinfection rooms when they came in. Not to mention that the real laboratories are guarded by personnel. After putting on protective clothing and undergoing the last comprehensive disinfection, The two opened the last isolation door that was tens of centimeters thick. At this time, Killian was careful and slowly carried the suitcase in his hand and placed it in the protective isolation glass operation box not far away. Then after closing it, the machine automatically locked and the suitcase inside automatically opened. It was at this time that Samuel saw what was in the suitcase that Killian had been holding carefully all the way. Inside it was a flower that looked very similar to a starfish and had never existed on Earth. At this moment, Samuel was sure that this flower had definitely not been discovered by the world. And this flower definitely contained extremely powerful potential. By now, Samuel already knew that the reason why Killian asked him out was for this unknown flower in front of him. As you can see, this is a plant called the Stairway of the Sun that I accidentally got from an extremely remote tribe. In that place, if the locals want to become the leader of the tribe, they must eat the flower in front of them. Because the flower itself is highly poisonous, they usually choose many candidates first, and then hold a ceremony to elect the leader. During the ceremony, they eat the flowers one by one, and then until one of them eats the flower without being poisoned to death, the election is completed and he becomes the leader of the tribe. Of course, the most magical thing among them is that every tribal leader will have a powerful power close to that of a god. After experiencing this baptism of life and death, he will have an extremely long life, as well as tremendous strength and an invulnerable body that humans cannot achieve, and he will be courageous and fearless. Chapter 21, Flowers of the Stairway to the Sun. But this also has side effects. According to their records, shortly after a ceremony, a group of young people eager to compete for the position of leader rushed into the flower bed and ate the stairs to the sun flowers. And the consequence is that many of these people mutated. They became huge, full of aggressiveness, and grew all kinds of tentacles and spikes on their bodies. Unable to fight the monsters, the residents of the tribe later all abandoned their original tribe and moved to other places. And the place where the stairs to the sun was originally owned was also closed by them. And I also got this thing by chance. And do you know what the most important thing is? According to their records, a long time ago, this tribe had an extremely large territory, but in the end it disappeared because of the loss of the stairs to the sun. Do you know what this means? Looking at the stairs to the sun in the operating box, Killian admired its appearance while speaking to Samuel Stern on the side in a very seductive tone. And what this means is that this plant will give people extremely powerful abilities that are even comparable to Captain America. And the power to extend life. After listening to Killian's words, Samuel couldn't help but respond excitedly. He didn't doubt Killian's words at all, because he had no money, no beauty, and only this smart brain. The other party asked him to come over, obviously because he was interested in his knowledge of biology, so it was impossible for him to lie to him about the project information he was about to be responsible for. And this means that all this is true. For a moment, even Samuel's breathing became heavier. He didn't dare to imagine that even if he didn't develop this plant in depth, as long as he restored the abilities that the ancients had developed its influence would be extremely huge. But, is there really such a tribe? I don't think I've ever heard of it. At this time, Samuel immediately asked the doubts in his heart. Believe me, on this earth, humans have only understood and explored less than 10% of what we have. There are still a lot of magical creations waiting for us to develop. Just like this plant in front of us. So, let's not dwell on its origins, let's show its abilities to the world again, okay? By then, Erkins and Stark will all be ordinary people. And you, my friend, will be the world's top scientist and the most influential creator. At this moment, Killian patted Samuel's shoulder, using an extremely affirmative tone to express his unprecedented affirmation of the other party. Don't worry, boss, believe me, I will never let you down. After listening to Killian's words, Samuel Stern couldn't hide his excitement, and the whole person immediately spoke. Of course, I have always believed in your ability, otherwise I would not have invited you in person. From today on, I will announce in the company that you are the person in charge of this laboratory. In this laboratory, you can allocate everything you see, including people or things. Even if there is any problem, whether it is money or people, I will give you 100% support. Killian said again. After Killian finished speaking, at this moment, Samuel's heart was full of Killian's shadow. He never thought that one day he would be so trusted and valued by others. And that person was someone he had never met before. The other party was willing to believe him only because of the papers he published. At this moment, Samuel deeply understood what it meant to die for his confidant. Why Captain America was willing to fight for the United States from the beginning to the end. Samuel, from today on, would also work hard for Lord Killian. After Killian simply told Samuel a few words about the knowledge of the stairway to the sunflowers, he went back to the company. Because there was a reason for this, Lisa had already said that many congressmen from large states and heads of various companies wanted to invite him to dinner. And he had let Lisa handle some simple issues on his behalf. But several influential senior congressmen in the local area could not be pushed away. So what do these old guys want to do? After arriving at the company, Killian said while changing into the suits that had been prepared long ago. Haha, of course they are attracted by the influence of Dabe. The sales of Dabe have begun to increase exponentially since early this morning. Many governments and companies from other countries are flying in to order Dabe. Our orders are already scheduled until the new year. After Killian put on his clothes, Lisa, who was standing beside him, stepped forward to tidy them up and spoke. How is the factory expansion going? It's settled, but it will take a long time to build. I have already negotiated with a mature manufacturing plant. We are waiting for you to sign after checking it, and then it can be put into use. Very good, I trust you to do the job. Come with me to the dinner later. At the end, Killian spoke to Lisa in front of him. Me. After hearing that Killian was going to take her to such a big occasion as the congressman, Lisa was in disbelief. After all, there are only 100 senior congressmen in the United States, and these congressmen can influence the legal system of the United States. It can be said that the power held by each senior congressman is equivalent to the boss of the 9 provinces and 6 ministries in ancient China. Going one step further, they are among the 3 highest officials. And their influence in the United States is even greater than that of the governor. Because if they go one step further, they can directly reach the positions of the Vice President, President, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of the Justice Department, Secretary of the Defense Department and other national-level powerful bosses. It is also because of knowing their influence that Lisa did not take the initiative to greet them, but invited Killian back. It can be said that if they can get help from these senior counselors later, their pioneering technology can be considered stable. You know, although it is still early and Lisa has not sensed the movements of some competitors, her sixth sense tells her that things are becoming more and more complicated. Of course, don't you want to be a VP? This is a great opportunity for you to get promoted later. Seeing Lisa's surprised look in front of him, Killian raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Invitation from a Member of Parliament. You, others give their subordinates a promotion every few years, but you do it by the hour. After taking a deep look at Killian's eyes and making sure that he was not joking, Lisa couldn't help but speak. However, the relaxed look between her eyebrows and the corners of her mouth that couldn't stop rising revealed her happiness. After so many things happened today, Killian also found that he should really delegate power. To be honest, there are many positions in the company's management, in addition to the CEO he is currently serving. There are not only VP Vice Presidents, but also EVP, Executive Vice President, and the top managers of major departments such as Personnel, Operations, and Finance, as well as VP Vice Presidents. VP is divided into SVP Senior Vice President and VP Vice President. Under it, there are 2 more levels, one is Director and Senior Director. Lisa is now a Senior Project Manager below the Director, not even a Director. The reason why Killian didn't want to promote her too quickly was that it would easily have a bad impact on the subsequent promotion system, and the second was that things that are too easy to get are often less cherished. Moreover, according to the current development potential of pioneer technology, anyone who understands it knows that what Killian is giving the other party now is definitely better than 99% of the current companies. Lisa is an ambitious person who knows the overall situation and knows when to advance and retreat. Killian has always known this, and he also happens to need such a person, so as long as it is within the regulations and the other party has achievements, he will not be stingy in rewarding and promoting the other party, but it is only about ability. He now needs someone who can stand up and help him solve his problems, but he doesn't need it particularly. The development of a company is like a kingdom, and it can't be sloppy at all. You have the ability, and I also need your ability, that's enough. After saying that, Killian stopped talking. And when Lisa appeared again, she was wearing a light blue dress and a suit and leather shoes. Killian appeared at a cocktail party at a private manor. "Hello, Mr. Killian. I am the butler of Biltmore Manor, Mr. Moss. I have been waiting for you for a long time. I will lead the way for you. Please come this way." After seeing Killian and his party coming, the butler in front of the gate not far away walked up quickly and said to Killian respectfully, "Lead the way." As Killian's voice fell, the butler bowed slightly, turned around and led the way along the side of the road, making sure that he would not block Killian and his party's sight. After passing a few corners, the two came to the banquet room on the second floor. At this moment, Killian finally saw the protagonists of this trip, the famous American Democratic Representative Mirko Kennedy and Lando Redman. And the whole scene, there were only the two of them and their respective female companions. Judging from the pattern of the scene alone, it is enough to reflect the importance of Killian. Similarly, after seeing this scene, Killian's expectations for this time were raised. Sometimes when you are in love with someone, you are afraid that the other person will not feel anything. Ho ha, this must be Mr. Killian. Look, Redman, I said that Mr. Killian is more charming in person than in the photo. Come on, you lost the bet, $10, pay it. Okay, my problem is that I underestimated Mr. Killian. After seeing Killian come in, Kennedy first stood up, walked to Killian with a smile, and then said jokingly, while urging Redman who followed behind to pay the bet, "Sorry, Mr. Killian, forgive us for making a bet with you before. It was presumptuous." After putting the $10 handed by Redman into his pocket, Kennedy said to Killian apologetically, "Oh, of course I don't mind, not to mention that it's my honor to be chosen by the famous Senator Kennedy." Killian saw the performance of the old man in front of him, but still replied with an expression of honor. "Ha, let me introduce myself. I am Mirko Kennedy and the person next to me is Lando Redman. We are friends who fight for the freedom and democracy of the people." After hearing what Killian said, Kennedy's smile became even happier, and then he began to introduce himself and Redman. "Actually, there is no need to introduce myself. I am familiar with the names of Senator Kennedy and Senator Redman. Florida, under the rule of the two congressmen, can be said to be the safest and happiest state in the United States. And Miami is the first choice for young entrepreneurs. Countless technologies are born here every year. If it were not for this reason, I would not choose to develop in Miami." After hearing what Kennedy said, Killian also gave a lot of rainbow farts. Ha, no, this is all the credit of the American People's Joint Construction. And it is also indispensable for outstanding entrepreneurs like you, Mr. Killian, to contribute to this great state. Kennedy accepted all of Killian's flattery, and even smiled so hard that he couldn't close his mouth. Then he asked Killian and the other man to sit down, and then, under the arrangement of the housekeeper, they enjoyed the dishes that had been prepared long ago. During the period, the three of them seemed to be friends who had known each other for a long time, and they talked about some interesting things in life very enthusiastically. It was as if this banquet was just a simple reminiscing of old friends. However, everyone present knew that this was just a warm-up for everything. Of course, making contributions to the people and the country is also what a company should have. But I don't know if Mr. Kennedy has any instructions for me to come here this time. After seeing that the atmosphere on the scene was almost the same, Killian once again responded to Kennedy's topic and asked directly, "Haha, Mr. Killian, you are indeed an excellent young man. In that case, I won't beat around the bush. Germany, didn't you prepare the dessert party a long time ago? Take Ms. Lisa and Mrs. Redman to taste it first." After hearing Killian's words, Kennedy laughed and said to his wife beside him. After hearing her husband's words, Germany understood what he meant and stood up to invite the two women to leave. After hearing the invitation, Lisa also left the scene very tactfully. The originally lively occasion also became quiet in an instant. Chapter 23 Sky-High Conditions. Haha, Mr. Killian, you are indeed an excellent young man. In that case, I won't beat around the bush. Germany, didn't you prepare the dessert party a long time ago? Take Ms. Lisa and Mrs. Redman to taste it first. After hearing Killian's words, Kennedy laughed and said to the lady beside him. After hearing her husband's words, Germany understood what he meant and stood up to invite the two women to go out. Lisa, who was standing aside, also stood up very tactfully after hearing Mrs. Germany's invitation. After smiling and signaling to Killian, she walked out with the two women. Okay, now there are only three of us. Mr. Killian, before we get down to business, I have to admit that you are a true genius. According to my team's analysis, the Baymax developed by your company is several years or even decades ahead of the current technology on the market, no matter which technology is taken out separately. After seeing that several ladies had left, there were only 3 of them in the room again, and Kennedy at this time immediately praised Killian in front of him. Thank you, Congressman Kennedy, we are just ahead of other companies in research and development in a certain aspect. Killian responded politely to Kennedy's words. Maybe, the main reason why I invited you, Mr. Killian, to come here this time is that I value Baymax and your potential. I think if you don't mind, I, an old man, and Congressman Redmond, want to make friends with you. After seeing Killian take over, Kennedy continued to speak. The reason why they lowered their status and took the initiative to invite Killian to be their guest this time was mainly for this reason. Because they have all personally experienced the magic of the so-called Big White. It can be said that if someone told them that this was a creation 100 years in the future, they would believe it without a doubt, and now it has been created like this. So they hurriedly made an appointment with Killian after experiencing it. They also believe that there are many smart people in this world who will come to win over the other party after seeing this. But isn't their advantage the proximity? Haha, Congressman Kennedy thinks too much of me. Of course, making friends is no problem. After all, more friends mean more ways. For a businessman like me, having more friends is not bad. But in the business world, I also believe in a saying, that is, there is no love without reason. I guess Congressman Kennedy, you need something else. After hearing Kennedy's words, Killian also smiled and said, of course, since ancient times, the most important thing for friends to maintain friendship is not the binding of interests. As long as we have the same interests, we will be friends forever, right? At this moment, Kennedy said to Killian with a wrinkled face. Well, I'm all ears. After opening the topic, Killian shook the red wine glass in his hand slowly and said, I have 2 plans here. The first is that we will buy 20% of your company's shares for $3 billion, and you will gain the friendship of me and Mr. Redmond. In the United States, we will unconditionally support you with all our strength. What I can guarantee is that with the 2 of us here, plus our like-minded party members, other people in the United States who want to touch you will have to weigh whether they have the qualifications. At the end of the speech, Kennedy's eyes showed a domineering attitude that did not belong to this age. Especially the sentence that if you want to touch him in the United States, you have to see if you have the qualifications. Killian did not doubt this sentence at all. Because the other party is not only one of the representatives of the Democratic Party, the most powerful party in the United States, but also the family behind it is one of the 5 evergreen families at the founding of the United States, including the Kennedy family. The huge power behind it can be seen. You have to know that here, if you don't talk about black technology, even the Stark family is just a nouveau riche to them. Killian, who knows this well, also knows that the other party is indeed domineering and qualified to say this. And to be honest, if he wants to develop more technology in the later stage, he must develop more of his own people. Making fewer enemies and more friends is the development direction of an enterprise and a company. Like in TV dramas and movies, assassins are often filmed, and anyone with a little brain will not do this. Well, it's a good proposal. What about the second one? To be honest, Killian was a little tempted, but he wanted 20% of his shares for only $3 billion. Sorry, his money is not blown by the wind. Let alone $3 billion, he would not be willing to pay $30 billion. $50 billion to buy out Baymax's core technology, the real core technology, smart chips and scanners. After hearing what Killian said, Kennedy suddenly leaned forward and spoke at a very close distance. The undisguised greed in his eyes was so intense that Killian felt he could feel it even with his eyes closed. Sure enough, no American politician is simple. Or even simple people can't climb to this position. To be honest, $50 billion to buy out Baymax's technology is really good for Killian. However, these technologies are the key to the future development of his company, and he can't reveal them. After this, whether it is developing artificial intelligence or developing other robots, Baymax's technology will be needed. Moreover, Baymax is just a little bit better now. Killian's expectation for Baymax is to make it an all-round robot. Now there are people in the laboratory working overtime to develop new functions for Baymax. Selling Baymax now is no different from a fool who takes a hen that lays golden eggs to exchange for gold bricks. Haha, Mr. Kennedy's talk is really like thunder in my ears. Honestly, it's a pity if you don't become a businessman. Looking at Kennedy, who was almost in front of him, Killian pushed his chair and said slowly after stacking a few seats back. Haha, politics and business are not contradictory here, right? In response to Killian's words, Kennedy retreated to a seat and said with a smile. Chapter 24, No Giving Up. Of course, but if Mr. Kennedy keeps having such a big appetite, I think it will be difficult for us to cooperate. After all, the first rule of doing business is to do what you can. I think Mr. Kennedy would not want his partner to be a greedy vulture. Looking at Kennedy in front of him, Killian continued. Maybe, or Mr. Killian has a better suggestion. Kennedy said without comment. $20 billion, 5% of the shares. As Killian's voice fell, Kennedy's voice rang out instantly. Impossible. 20 billion, 5% of the shares? For God's sake, you are absolutely crazy, young man. You have to know that even the hottest technology noble Stark Group is not as expensive as you. Even Microsoft, the most influential company in the world, is only 600 billion. You don't think you can surpass them with just a big white. You have to know that the 5% of the shares you are talking about is a market value of $400 billion. I hope you understand what you are talking about. After the initial roar, Kennedy calmed down and looked at Killian in front of him with a gloomy face and said, You have to know that now, after Tony Stark announced the takeover of Stark Corporation, through various military technologies and military cooperation, it has obtained a lot of orders and has become a fortune tree in the eyes of investors. However, even so, its market value is only a few billion dollars, and this is still inflated. Now a little-known small company actually has a net worth of $400 billion. Let alone him, if it were anyone else, their performance would be even more outrageous than Kennedy just now. If it was more extreme, he would just turn his face away and not talk about it. Of course I know what I'm talking about. Mr. Kennedy, if you are only interested in Baymax's technology, then I can set up another subsidiary of Pioneer Technology as the Pioneer Technology robot company responsible for Baymax. In this company, Mr. Kennedy, if you want to invest 20%, $3 billion, I can treat it as making friends. But Mr. Kennedy, are you willing? Looking at Kennedy, who had lost his composure in front of him, Killian spoke. For Killian, the most important thing about Baymax is its influence, and selling money is secondary. Moreover, if he can win over half of the US government with only 20% of the shares, it will be a huge profit for Killian, no, for everyone. And don't look at the Stark Group in the movie as being high and mighty. It has been against the military and the government so many times, and even stopped cooperating with the military in the end. Why can it still stand firm? It is because there are countless government investors of all sizes in the shares of the Stark Group. These people, invisibly, gathered together to form a force dedicated to protecting the Stark Group. After all, if Stark was targeted, it would be equivalent to touching their purses. In a capitalist society like the United States, if your purse is touched, you can't expect to live a stable life. What do you mean? After hearing Killian's words, Kennedy calmed down for a rare time, looking directly at Killian in front of him and asked. Obviously, he understood what Killian meant. An avant-garde technology must have other stocks. Vanguard Technology is a private investment think tank that has been established for nearly 10 years. Our main projects include but are not limited to various external cooperation projects, internal machinery development, chip development, biopharmaceuticals and other cutting-edge fields. And it is well known that when a company releases its first-generation product, it is enough to prove that it has second-generation or even third-generation products in its hands. And I said from the beginning that Vanguard Technology is a real high-tech company and will not stick to just one project. Believe me, Mr. Kennedy, you will not lose 50 billion. Moreover, Vanguard Technology will not go public, and only our real people will make money in the company. At this time, Killian also met the side of Congressman Kennedy and said calmly word by word. Not going public. Then how can you make money? You should know that even if you have a robot Baymax, you can only sell it for a few dollars a year, and if it goes public, you will at least have a return of dozens, hundreds, or even hundreds of times. After hearing Killian's words, Redmond, who had been silent from beginning to end, couldn't help but speak out. After hearing Redmond's speech, Kennedy did not speak anymore but turned his head to look at Killian in front of him, as if waiting for his explanation. Yes, I admit that as long as we go public, even if we do nothing, We can make a lot of money just by the first wave. But you have to know that this is only for ordinary companies. First, we are a technology company. If a company goes public, it must be open and transparent. And this is fatal for a company with many high-tech secrets, so it cannot go public. Second, not going public can ensure that everyone's shares in our own hands are pure and will not be diluted, and I will not easily take back what I give out. Third, and the most important point, but I can't disclose this because of commercial confidentiality, but believe me, Senator Kennedy and Senator Redmond, if you join, you will definitely not suffer any loss, and you will even feel that it is worth the money. Killian said. How do I know if you are cheating us? You have to know that it is $50 billion US. No one or any force can give it away so easily. After a long silence, Kennedy stared at Killian's eyes, as if he wanted to see through his heart, and asked, First, I am a businessman and a scientist. Whether for profit or reputation, I will not be stupid enough to challenge a team that has the influence of half of the United States. I'm not stupid. Second, perhaps, Baymax is not enough to explain the problem. I can say clearly that Baymax is at least 20 years ahead of the current world technology level. I believe you understand this better than me, otherwise we would not be sitting here. Third, if I really want to cheat money, I can completely hang you first, and then go to successful people in the United States under your banner. Believe me, as long as the relevant reports come out, I can make more money. Looking at Kennedy in front of him, Killian knew that the other party was still tempted, so he continued. Chapter 25 Cooperation. The reasons are very sufficient, but they are still not enough. Kennedy at this moment is like a gambler. He only needs a final push, even a little more chips, and he will step in completely. Because both of them know that Kennedy is not Killian's only choice, and there are still a lot of people on the way. Even the reason why Kennedy came so early was that he received a notice that the government was also very interested in Dabei and wanted to invest in it as a star enterprise. Yes, in the United States, whether it is the state government or the federal government, or even the county government, they will choose companies for investment. Although it is very conservative, there is no doubt that pioneer technology is worth their investment. Not to mention, they have just set a future plan, which is to strengthen the infrastructure of information technology, introduce new technical means, such as cloud computing, big data, artificial intelligence, etc., reduce manual operations, and improve work efficiency and accuracy. And it happens that Dabei almost meets all the contents of this entire article. And Kennedy also knows that if he doesn't act quickly, and waits for the federal government to act, he can only get a little bit of light soup and water. Far less than the huge benefits he can get now. But he didn't expect that Killian was even more cunning than many entrepreneurs he had seen, and more like a vampire. For Killian, with a little bit of technology, he could rely on a big tree, develop his own technology with peace of mind, and let the US government escort him. Is there anything better than this? Killian even has a bigger ambition. Next, he will bring the military in. Military and political work. How about this? We can sign an agreement. After you invest in the company, if you feel that the confidential content disclosed to you by the company does not meet your expectations, you can withdraw your shares unconditionally. How about that? I will even give you 2% of the shares for free, just for our friendship. With this idea in mind, Killian quickly proposed a solution. Ha, you know what? I really like Starling's words. That is, young people are our future and our hope. And you, my friend, you are the same. After listening to Killian's plan, Kennedy immediately relaxed his frown and said to Killian in front of him with a kind smile. Say the same thing in return. The talent of young people is invention, and the talent of old people is judgment. Congressman Kennedy and Congressman Redmond, believe me, you deserve this sentence. At this moment, the two sides finally reached a sense of cooperation. Ha, cheers for our friendship. Cheers. Just like that, after going through the tense negotiation, all that was left was bragging and courtesy. The three of them ended the meeting after chatting for more than an hour. When they appeared again, Killian and Lisa had already sat in the car to go back. How was it? Seeing how happy you were when you left, it must have been very successful. Looking at Killian, who was drunk, Lisa asked curiously. Of course, we can work hard from now on. Lisa, when you go back, ask the Ministry of Justice to draft the cooperation agreement with Senator Kennedy and others, and you will personally check it. Give it to me after it's done. After hearing Lisa's words, Killian also spoke up. Okay, No problem. By the way, what about you? What did you gain? After getting Lisa's answer, Killian seemed to remember something and asked again. Me? It's very harmonious, everyone has a tacit understanding. I think the atmosphere will be much better next time we meet. Thanks to Killian's confidence, Lisa and the two congressmen's wives get along much better, and they are even like sisters throughout the whole process, asking about each other's well-being. But Lisa also knows that these are just appearances. If they didn't have Dabe and Killian, the other party wouldn't even look at her. Very good, remember to maintain good relationships regularly. Sometimes, you women have more channels to get information and it is easier. By the way, how is my secretary now? After hearing Lisa's report, Killian nodded and then spoke again. Everything is going smoothly. 4 people have passed the first and second interviews. We are preparing to let you interview in person tomorrow. Lisa, who had long been accustomed to Killian's sudden questions, also answered immediately. Okay, you should go back and rest early. In the next period of time, the company will usher in rapid development and its scale will definitely expand again. This is your chance, keep going, I believe in you. Before and after the car stopped at his villa, Killian opened the car door and gave Lisa instructions before getting out of the car, then got out of the car and walked towards the room. Welcome home, sir. A few guests came to visit at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Because you were not there, they left a message saying they would come again tomorrow and then left. When he pushed open the door and came to the room, the unique figure of Baymax suddenly appeared in the metal box standing at the door. He put slippers in front of Killian's feet and reported. Guests? Who are they? Killian couldn't help but feel curious about the guests mentioned by Baymax. You know, although his address is not very confidential, ordinary people will definitely not be able to find it. Not to mention that if there is really a cooperation, they will definitely find the company to contact him through the secretary. And these people actually found his home directly, which made Killian feel a little weird. According to the data search, the people are the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, Charles Alex Rob Modise, the CEO of Pfizer, Francis Henry, the CEO of Merck Pharmaceuticals, Rob Modise, and the CEO of AbbVie Biopharmaceuticals, Alfred Gerard. After searching online, Dabe quickly told the information of the people. Good fellow, no wonder they came to our door, each of them is a pharmaceutical giant. After hearing what Dabe said, Killian finally understood. After all, when Dabe was first released, he knew in his heart that Dabe's biological sign monitoring black technology would definitely destroy the jobs of many pharmaceutical companies. But it has only been 1 day since it was released, or even less than 2 days, and they came to our door. At this moment, Killian still felt that he underestimated the sense of smell of these capitalists. And if they came to us were small minions, it would be fine, but these are all CEOs. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.